Okay, thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Stan Komorek. I'll be your chair this afternoon. I'd also like to introduce my fellow panel members, Natalia Popovic on my far left, Laura Alderson on my near left, Rick Ross on my near right, and Bill Dalton on my far right. Just would like to start with some opening remarks. So in accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that apply to property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, consent to sever property to create new lots. Our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Our hearing procedure this afternoon, the Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid, in-person, and virtual format. Some participants and applicants will make their submissions in person, while others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone, and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during the video appearance. Copies of the decision of the committee. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email, as the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government recently amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions, and now only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Finance and Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons, and public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions of the committee. The appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Our hearing procedure this afternoon, I will call each item in the order listed in the agenda. When you're making your submissions, where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. Then when the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are asked to advise the chair should they wish to speak. The committee may ask questions and or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching your 5-minute mark. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing today. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to the proposal at the hearing today We may decide to defer the application if it is substantially revised to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposition of the application, will be invited to speak. Generally, we first call on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating electronically. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentations. When all speakers are finished, the applicant has the opportunity to rebut, but only those issues that were raised by the previous speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for our decision. Okay, our first item will be item 21, but before we get to that, I believe we do have at least one deferral. And I'd like to deal with that before we get into the main agenda. Madam Secretary Treasurer, just the one for this afternoon.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, item number 25.
Okay. So item 25, 85 Yorkley Avenue. This is an application to obtain consent to sever the property into 2 residential lots and to create an easement right of way. And the applicant is requesting a deferral. So if we can get the applicant online. Trying to look at my list.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, committee.
Good afternoon. Who am I speaking to?
Jonathan Benskowski.
Hey, Jonathan. Okay, so you're looking for a deferral on this?
Okay. Correct. Last week, we received some comments from TRCA looking for some additional information as well as a natural heritage impact study. It's my view we don't need this as we are entirely on tableland and 10 meters away, but as this just came last week, we didn't have time to coordinate a site visit with TRCA. So I would like to request a deferral to address the comments of TRCA, Mr.
Yeah, that's
Chair.
fair. They've actually submitted a deferral request to us as well. So, panel members?
I'll move a motion to defer.
Oh, do we have any speakers on this issue?
Yes.
Yes, sorry.
Before we do a motion, we do have some speakers.
Okay, just found my list right now, sorry. So if we can get, is there anyone in person for this?
There is, technically.
Technically?
Most of the folks sitting here actually are for it. But maybe we go to the planner on behalf of the residents.
Okay.
Who's a speaker online.
Fair
Alan
enough.
Ramsey. We'll go to them first, and then we can kind of go from there.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, one moment. Okay, Alan's good to go. Yeah. Alan, go ahead.
Hello, it's
You're cutting out.
I'm a planner and I act for the residents in the vicinity of the subject land.
Okay,
I'm sorry about that.
Alan Ramsey, sorry, because
But I'm a planner acting for the citizens or for the residents in the area, and we've just become either.
You're kind of cutting in and out.
Hello?
Hello?
Okay. If you skip.
Alan, are you still there?
Is that better?
Yeah.
It is right now.
Hello? Hello, it's Alan Ramsey here. I act for the land use planner, and we've just become aware of the deferral request ourselves, and that's acceptable to us.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was trying to get at. Okay. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak, or should we can address directly?
Mr. Chair, so I just wanted to double check if there's anyone else here in chambers that would like to speak about the deferral request specifically, or if the Alan kind of covered it. I think, Mr. Chair.
Yeah,
Alan.
so basically, if we defer this, it'll come back at a later time, and unfortunately, you've wasted your time coming here today, but at least the process moves forward or backward, depending how you want to look at it, and we'll have another kick at the can.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. How about the other two speakers registered from ADC?
So there's two other speakers on our list. Anna DePetti, they are not present on the call. And I've been in contact with one of the AIR residents who's present here, who's let me know that the person that says Lena was just interested in actually watching and not actually interested in speaking. So we can double check that, because I do know Lena is on the call, so we can confirm that with her if you guys would like. But like I said, I've been told by someone in the crowd who is related to them that they were just here to watch. Mr. Chair?
Hello?
Oh,
Sorry, so is there someone online?
yeah, so Lena,
Yeah, thanks.
there we go.
Okay, so the
Yeah,
applicant.
I have no comment.
Okay. Okay, so are we good to take it into committee now? Okay.
Sorry, Lena, go ahead if you,
No, she's fine.
She didn't have any comment.
Yeah, so did you want to say anything, ma'am, or no? Okay.
No.
All right. I take it back to committee, if anyone's ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we defer this matter on the basis of the comments we've heard so far.
Thank you. And so that the applicant can process with TRCA.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, the item is deferred. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who came out. Yeah,
And also they waited too as well.
I know, that's,
It's never a waste.
okay, so let me just find where we're at.
Adam, do you have another list? Another copy of the speaker list?
Okay, so item 21 is the top of the agenda then, and this is an item that was deferred from 2021. Yeah. And it is for 747 the Queensway. This is an application to construct a two-story addition above the existing building, which will contain 4 residential units. There are 2 variances being requested. Planning has a condition of approval, and I think that's it. Darren Zuckerman?
No, Mr. Chair, this is actually the property owner for the property, so that's why I want to double check. Who is doing the? Yes, so are you doing the presentation? Are you doing the presentation, or is your agent doing the presentation?
Okay, and what is your name, please? Okay, no problem. So can we get your name and address, please?
My name is Rustem Irsay. I'm the owner of the property.
Okay.
7 the Queensway.
Okay, we got you on the list. Okay, perfect.
Mr. Chair, dear members of the... Oh. Hi. Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Rustem Irsay. I'm the owner of 747 the Queensway. I'm here regarding my final variance, which is focused on the 45-degree issue. I've already resolved the previous several variances, including the transportation. With your help, you provided me the extension, and I'm grateful for that. Our project meets the 45-degree requirement at the back of the residential property, but the city asking for the angle to be measured from the middle of the lane. If we follow that, I will lose one entire apartment and another will be much smaller, which would seriously affect my plan to have 4 apartments. 1 for my family, 2 for rent, and 1 as the community center for the Canadian Association of Crimean Tatars. Our community is very active in supporting both the Ukrainian and Crimean Tatar people, which is in war now, and this center would help with those efforts. In addition, with the housing shortage in Toronto, my project would add much needed rental units, and I believe it should be supported to help with the city's housing needs. I'm asking for your understanding and support in approving this variance so I can complete my projects as planned. In addition, I would say that I sacrificed my house to buy this property in 2019 because the Metrolinx affected my business and then was almost bankrupt. So I sold my house to buy this and build the property I can live and work. So without the approval, it wouldn't be possible. I have to sell this and go somewhere else or close my business. That's my point. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I just have one question.
Yeah.
There's a planning condition from the original hearing tying it to the drawings, and they're saying that they still want to do that. I just want to make sure that, have your drawings changed from when you've originally submitted in 2021?
The only thing changed, we just moved the garbage area into the garage and made it like a garbage area. So the planning was completely okay with it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so that's fine. I just want to make sure that we're not going to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
into,
yeah, yeah.
you know, if we approve this, but they're tying it to
No, that's only
something that's different.
45
Okay.
degrees. The transportation approved. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I only have one condition from community planning, and that's as it relates to the provision of a designated enclosed garbage area within the garage.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I may have,
That's it.
maybe I've got the wrong notes from for the.
Yeah. It was asked twice. I provided the new. Yeah.
There's just one condition, sir,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and transportation is okay.
Yeah. The only 45 degrees issue.
Yeah, there's only one condition,
Yeah,
but
transportation is okay.
Yeah.
I'll stop talking.
I don't think the angular plane is the issue now. It's the garbage area within the garage that's the issue.
Yeah, and what planning did is they
There is a letter that actually, it uploaded. So I wrote the planning that we changed. They recalled it because they forgot about it. They recalled it, and there is an email from planning saying, yes, we're recalling it, and we are totally okay. So with your garbage area in the garage, so that was released. It was recently, like a
the
month ago.
current memo was just kicking it back to the April 13th, 2021 condition, noting the enclosed garbage area within the garage, which you're providing.
Yeah.
Right?
We're violently agreeing.
So we're fine.
So
Yeah.
That's full circle.
we're going different directions, but we're also
Yeah,
saying
sorry
the
about
same
this.
thing. So, okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So let's take it into committee.
Unless somebody else has any comments or questions, I'm
Yeah.
prepared to make a motion. I believe this meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act and move for approval, subject to community planning's condition regarding the garbage area.
Okay, Ms. Alderson?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Dalton, all in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 22, 86 39th Street. This is a application to construct a new garden suite in the rear yard. There are 4 variances being requested. Planning is recommending refusal due to height. There is a support petition with 12 signatures. There are 2 objections, one from LBNA, and Metrolinx has advisory comments.
Mr. Chair, just as a quick note, Andy Trolls was a last minute add to area residents.
Oh, that's why I said there's 2.
Oh.
2
Okay.
objectors.
I only got 1.
I think there's a letter from LBNA as well.
There's-
Yeah, and Andy's representing LBNA.
No, I don't think he is in this case.
I asked him
Oh, he is?
during my mic
He
check.
is, but he also submitted a letter on his own.
Gotcha.
Okay. We'll figure that out as we get there. So, Aaron Zager is the agent?
Yes, that's right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
committee. My name is Erin Zager. I'm the agent for the homeowner. I work, my company is Easy Dimensions. With regards to, I only have 3 issues on the zoning clearance. I may have missed something, but I guess the key point is the height which is currently proposed at 6.6 meters. We've brought that down from 7.3 meters. And the angular plane issue. Our standpoint is that if this was a single floor without a garage, it would be easy to accommodate both of those items. But once we create a living unit or ADU above the garage, there's a tug of war going between the height and the angle. Initially, we had planned to replicate the angle of the house with the roof, but that, as I said, has been lowered because of the requirements on the height and the angular plane. So basically, we're asking for, with regards to the landscape coverage, we're proposed at 34%. The limit is 50%. However, the client has agreed to have the entire parking and driveway space done with interlock in order to augment the water management issues. And we're hoping to get a variance on the 0.6 meter height and the intrusion on the angular plane for the roof.
Okay, just wanted to follow up. Planning is aware of your reduction to 6.6, and they still have an issue with that. I guess there's no way you can address that any further.
Well, the issue is ceiling height, as it is right
For sure.
now. At the outer edges, the ceiling height has now been reduced to 5 feet. I'm 5'2", so that's fine for me. But
Sort of.
if we were to, the more or less the issue is that we're now accommodating the setbacks on the side and the rear. The original building went right to the property lines. So once we condense the size of the building, the angle becomes awkward to get the roof height and the ceiling height within the dwelling unit to work cohesively.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from anyone else?
Is this effectively a knee walls type issue?
No, these are the outer walls. The building itself originally was the full width of the property, but now we've set it back from the side setback requirements. And I forget what the actual building width is now. It's 7.6 wide. So on a narrow property like this, it's hard to get, like I said, the roof height and the interior space to work harmoniously.
Okay, stand by. We'll have, I guess, Mr. Choles next. Is he the only speaker? Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Andy Choles. I live at 12 Jasmine Avenue in Long Branch. I'm a board member of the Long Branch Neighborhood Association. We have a mission statement to protect, celebrate, and enhance the neighborhood of Long Branch. This application for 8639th Street is trying to fit a garage with a garden suite, or the garden suite garage combo exceeds the allowable size for such a structure. Its application should be refused. The staff report from community planning refers to 4.5.1 of Toronto's official plan, which states that development in neighborhoods will respect and reinforce the existing physical character of each geographical neighborhood, including letter C, prevailing heights, massing, scale, density, dwelling type of nearby residential properties. The official plan further states no changes will be made through rezoning, minor variance, consent, or other public action that are out of keeping with the overall physical character of the entire neighborhood. 4.1.8 of the official plan states zoning bylaws will contain numerical site standards for matters such as building type, height, density, lot sizes, lot depths, lot frontages, parking, building setbacks from lot lines, landscape and open space, and any other performance standards to ensure that the new development will be compatible with the physical character of the established residential neighborhood. Community planning in their report specifically highlights the excessive height of this structure at 6.6 meters. They acknowledge some improvement from the original plan of 7.4 meters, but point out that no garden suites over 6 meters have been approved in this area. The list of variances on the public notice include variance number 2 and variance number 3. No part of an ancillary building containing a garden suite may penetrate the 45-degree angular projected, and variance 2 is towards the front lot line, and variance 3 is towards the opposite lot line, beginning from a height 4 meters from the required rear yard setback. This building penetrates both of those angular planes. I'm not an architect, but the 6.6 meter height may be the contributing factor. This has been the case with previous garden suites the LBNA has seen in the past. Perhaps the 11-foot ceiling height and the roof pitch on the second floor could be reduced to make the overall height of the building comply with regulations. The statement by the applicant that in the Long Branch Neighborhood Character Guidelines checklist, additional 1.3 meter height to accommodate floor space and ceiling height for a smaller building footprint. This justifies the height in the applicant's mind, but not in policy. This application was to come before the Committee of Adjustment back in 2021 as a 2-story garage. I believe a double garage at that point. One of the variances assessed against that was the maximum permitted stories for an ancillary structure is 1. The application was recommended deferred prior to the hearing to give staff appropriate time to review the application. It was not submitted in its present form until quite recently. The application is back with us today, albeit with some modifications, as a 2-story garden suite. The City of Toronto Expanding Housing Options in Neighborhoods, or EHON, lists permitted uses of a garden suite for living accommodations or home occupations. Short-term rentals are permitted only in accordance with the short-term rental bylaw. Looking at the plan for this application, the ground floor is split between a single garage and a kitchen area with stairs leading to a second floor. On the second floor, there's a washroom and 2 other rooms labeled office and workshop. The applicant filed a rental housing demolition and conversion declaration of use and screening form. This is the first time I've seen such a form, and I'm not 100% what it's supposed to show. However, box 4 of this form lists total number of units under the column proposed number of existing and renovated units by bedroom type, lists 0 units for all numbers of bedrooms, including other. Looking at the plan, it would appear that this garden suite isn't to be used for living accommodation as set out in EHON. With rooms labeled workshop and office, it seems some other use is slated for this space. Now, I believe there may be some other garden suites that have been constructed as backyard studios or other similar use, contrary to EHON writings. However, this garden suite and all garden suites, whatever they are used for, should adhere to the dimensions set out in such backyard structures. Garden suites are a new build form and are still in the testing phase for the City of Toronto. If this application were to be approved, the variances for height would certainly set a precedent which other builds would indubitably follow. The LBNA is concerned that only 34% of the rear yard is to have soft landscaping, where a minimum of 50% is required. Plantable space and soft landscaping are very important to the neighborhood to help mitigate the negative effects brought on by climate change. Again, the applicant's statement in the Long Branch Neighborhood Character Checklist that he has improved the amount of soft landscaping over what's there presently and added permeable pavers still doesn't meet the required 50% soft landscaping in the rear yard. We remain concerned about the tree on the neighbor's property and do hope that every precaution will be taken. Okay. The reduction in soft landscaping does not provide for tree planting and vegetation. This is particularly important given Toronto has launched its first resiliency strategy that integrates Toronto's major climate environment. The LBNA stands with community planning, and the variances for this application are not minor and do not maintain the general intent and purpose. It should be refused. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other speakers, I'd like to come back to the applicant.
I'm here.
Hi, it's your opportunity to address the issues raised by the previous speaker.
Well, again, The original building went from property line to property line in the rear. It has been in a degrading condition for some time. It's not in any condition that we can grandfather the original property setbacks as was originally proposed. Therefore, we've reduced it, and like I said, primarily the rules with regards to the angular plane and the height have been cumbersome to deal with on the second floor living space. It currently right now is to be used by the family. They're going to take their office and workshop out of the house and move it into this structure for now. They have a growing family, so the space and quiet is apparently required. But we understand the rules. We understand the importance of the rules and maintaining them. But I would also put forward that in a situation where a garage exists on the lower level, the roof is very awkward to accommodate with the angular setback and the height restriction.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, you're not proposing this to become a rental unit or or living space?
Not at this point, no.
Okay. Any other questions? No.
So am I to understand that you're saying that the angular plane and height variances are working at cross purposes?
Yes, because once the height is accommodated, a slope as low as 412, which is regular shingle material, becomes an issue for the height on the opposite walls, on the shorter walls. And then once you get into more complicated wood structure or low slope roof materials, the costs increase on the owner side.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I guess we'll take it into committee then. So we've got an application for a garden suite that's actually not really a garden suite. And the description is actually correct. It's saying to construct a two-story addition above the existing building. They're not saying, oh, I'm looking at the wrong one, sorry. Yeah, to construct a new garden suite, but in the strict definition, a garden suite is to accommodate bedrooms. Or at least one bedroom.
Well, I'd like to move a motion for refusal. I don't believe the application meets the four tests, as it does not reflect the area and is not in keeping with its surroundings.
And that's refused as amended? Did they make?
Does it matter?
Yes, it does. We want it noted that there were some.
There were amendments, okay, fair enough. Okay, there's a motion on the floor to refuse the application.
And because community planning also would like it refused, I'm happy to second that motion.
Okay, so all in favor? Okay, so the application is refused. Thank you.
Yeah, I voted in favor.
Yep. Okay, so, oops, I'm messing up, writing in the wrong spot. So item 23 is our next item, 11 Arrowdale Avenue. This is an application to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling and to enlarge the existing attached garage and a new converted front porch. There are 5 variances being requested. We have no comments or conditions from city departments. And Eddie Perez is the agent.
Hello, good afternoon again. This is Eddie. I'm here on behalf of the owner and designers. Before you have 4 variances, which I consider very minor in nature.
Eddie, I think we have 5.
Yes, sir.
But I don't think we need.
Pardon me?
I think you have 5
Okay,
variances, but I don't think we need a full presentation on this. So if you're.
Okay. Just one thing to note is that coverage without the shed and the pergola in the back is at 29%. That's what's bringing the number up. But in totality, the whole thing is minor in nature. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm assuming there are no questions.
No, no question.
I'd like to move a motion. This application is very straightforward, meets the 4 tests, and as there are no conditions, I move a motion for approval.
I'll
Thank you.
second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval, Mr. Perez. Okay, item 24. 37 Juliet Crescent. This is an application to construct a new 4-plex with a detached garage in the rear yard. There are 3 variances being requested. We have Metrolinx with advisory comments. We have 3 objections on file. And I'm assuming we have some speakers, yes.
Mr. Chair, we do have some speakers. And on that note, we do have someone in the chambers who has just left the room.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if they've decided to go home or if they're just using the bathroom, but maybe we stand this one down for a moment until that person comes back. Because if they're in the washroom right now,
No,
you know,
is this,
perfect, they're back.
okay, I think we're here.
We're good now.
We're good.
My delay tactics worked.
Quit ragging the phone.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so we're good now. Thank you.
Okay, and the agent is online? Okay, so that's Paula?
No, Mr. Chair, we had a last minute change. Raymond Zemba is the agent.
Okay, Raymond, welcome. I guess we would like your presentation, please.
Certainly. Okay, so starting the 5-minute presentation. Okay. The proposal today is for a 3-story 4-plex, but I'd like to discuss the letters submitted by residents first. Generally, I've reviewed them and they relate to the introduction of a 4-plex as well as height and overlook. So as I mentioned this morning, with respect to 4-plexes, as part of the city's expanding housing options, neighborhoods multiplexes are permitted as a right. The second concern was regarding height, and I would just like to note that for the application, both the height and length of the building actually meet the zoning bylaw, and we're not seeking any relief from the bylaw regarding those 2 aspects. We also have 2 signatures of support that were submitted this morning from residents at 34 Bicknell Avenue. So moving on to the neighborhood, if you can please bring up the site context map prepared by city staff. 37 Juliet Crescent is located on the south side of the street, and the subject site contains a single-family dwelling and a driveway leading to a garage at the rear. The street actually contains a mix of single-family dwellings and multiplexes. For example, there's an existing 2.5-story single detached house at 40 Juliet Crescent, which is directly opposite of the subject site. And there's also existing 2.5-story walk-up apartments nearby at 83 Juliet Crescent, about 120 meters east, and 7 and 9 Juliet Crescent, about 170 meters east. The surrounding area actually contains a mix of singles, semis, multi-units, and apartments and townhouses scattered throughout. For example, we have 2.5-story apartments at 83 Bicknell Avenue, about 140 meters south. So flipping to the proposal and the architectural drawings, which is the site plan, page 1, you can see the outline of the 4-plex in gray and the garage at the rear. The first variance I'd like to discuss is the side yard setback. The proposal seeks a side yard setback of 0.6 meters to the east, whereas the bylaw requires 1.2 meters. The current dwelling on the survey is shown as 0.47 to 0.7 meters to the east. As such, this variance is to recognize an existing side yard relationship. In addition, the west side has a side yard setback of 2.7 meters, 75 meters, which includes the driveway. The adjacent property to the east actually contains a similar condition. A number of houses on the street do. We have a driveway providing a larger setback on the opposite side. So although the bylaw requires 1.2 meters on either side, many of the dwellings in the area do not achieve this. This is because the character of the area contains a driveway on one side with a reduced setback on the opposite side. So although technically this is a variance, for the east side, this is to reflect the existing character of the lot, the street, and provides a much larger setback on the west side, so the driveway can continue to be accommodated without disrupting the built form pattern of the street. Further, as shown on the location map, even taller new homes that have been recently constructed contain less than 0.1 meters on the opposite side of the driveway, such as 40 Juliet Crescent. So the second variance is just triggered by the first variance. So there's going to be small rear yard decks in the rear that lead to the emergency emergency fire access, which are a requirement of the OBC. And this is shown on the east elevation on page 13. And the last variance is regarding rear yard landscaping. So if we flip to that plan, which is SK1B, PDF page 3, the bylaw requires 50% of the rear yard to be soft landscaping, which equates to about 60 square meters, whereas the proposal is for 58.4. So we're about 2% short, and this is simply a result of the emergency fire exits at the rear taking up that space. And they're proposed to be metal and will be permeable, allowing water to pass through. In addition, the driveway width has actually been minimized to the greatest extent possible and only widens at the very last minute to provide access to the garage. And in addition, will be made up of pavers, which are more permeable. So with respect to the four tests, the proposal meets the intent of the OP by proposing a permitted built form, meets the intent of the zoning by ensuring a proposal is compatible regarding height, providing as much rear yard landscaping as possible, and maintaining that established side yard pattern on the street, is a desirable built form in response to the city's expanding housing options in neighborhoods, and is considered minor as any adverse impacts related to privacy are mitigated by window placement and privacy screens on the decks. I'd also like to note city staff did not submit a report indicating they do not have any concerns, and that we have 2 letters of support, or signatures of support, sorry. Thank you for your time, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Under 5 minutes. Any questions from panel members? No. Okay, before we proceed to other speakers, I need to do a bit of an intro like I did this morning on a similar item, just explaining that fourplexes are a permitted use in all residential zones as of the new zoning bylaw. And so for those who may be objecting to this, please focus on the direct impact to you of this property and or the actual variances, and not the fact that this is a fourplex, because that's beyond us in terms of whether we can control a fourplex coming in or not. So do we have anyone in the chambers? So let's start with people that are here.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Barker, and 55 Juliet Crescent.
Thank you.
I did not intend to speak. I'm new to this, so this is all sort of surprising. Well, learning experience, let's put it that way. I trust that the committee has read all of the objections that were put in, so you're aware of where I'm standing on that. Number one, this is an anomaly as far as the height is concerned and the look of the building. The metal stairs on the side, I don't know. The height is also not normal. It would be overwhelming and an anomaly for the whole neighborhood. There are all the houses with, I didn't follow quite the initial speaker, where say a little bit here, a little bit there, and others are infringing. They all look like family homes. They may have an extra unit there, but they look like family homes. And as far as I am concerned, these are, they're applying for quote unquote minor variances, and they probably are. But the minor variance creates a huge, not just minor variance for the neighborhood and the nature of the units. So I've said that in my letters, and I'm objecting to, it's too big in terms of structure and content for our residential family neighborhood. And the family that lived at 37 enjoyed that neighborhood for over 25 years with their family. And now they are proposing something that I hope it will not be a precedent to change the whole nature and ambience of the neighborhood. Right now, the neighborhood is highly valued and sought after. There are still units there that are not over billions of dollars or millions of dollars. So, you know, I've lived there for a long time, and I guess my big objection is not on the 3 inches here and 4 inches there. It's on the total, impact it'll have on definitely the block, but the whole neighborhood. And the idea that there are other houses that have more than one unit, it's almost irrelevant because they look like family homes where people are allowing either a basement apartment for rental, and the whole ambience with trees and height just make a very pleasant neighborhood for me to live in. And I am hoping that this high-valued neighborhood sought after will not be a precedent-seeking, and that the committee will see it sort of in the light of the whole neighborhood and ambience and what this one building would do.
Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. Do we have anyone else in the chambers?
No one else in the chambers, Mr. Chair. No. And so we have 3 other people on your list. The only person that's actually present on the call is the user at 96 Bicknell, Paula. So I'll go ahead now and unmute
please.
them. Paula?
Yep, I'm here. Good afternoon. Thanks for allowing me to participate. While we're always interested in families moving ahead in these trying times, we're not in agreement. Pardon?
Paula, can we just confirm your last name, please? Is it
Arruda.
Maruda? Okay.
Arruda.
With an
Yes.
A. Okay. I think
Yes.
we had it with an M. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
The M is my middle name.
Okay.
On the email. Okay.
Typo. Okay, no worries.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay. While we're always interested in families moving ahead in these trying times, we're not in agreement to possibly completely changing the landscape and family vibe of the area. Quite frankly, this project is potentially a monstrosity. Our area over the last couple of years has been inundated with construction, most notably the Eglinton Crosstown and the copious amounts of storm sewer work, which has already created massive traffic congestion with loss of use of permitted parking spaces. Some of the reasons for opposition are the notion that this is a minor variance is simply not true. An undertaking of this magnitude is major, not minor. Constructing a fourplex is a major variance in any way it's looked at, and a project of this magnitude has no place in our quiet, residential, tree-lined neighborhood. The townhouses referenced in the opening statements border on a major intersection way, way down at the end of the road. Previous requests for a 3-story family home was rejected. They were limited to a 2-story. Permit parking, as it stands, there is not enough parking for the residents as it is. We have had to go out and buy a parking permit from the City of Toronto to be able to park on Juliet, and we have to jockey for position almost every day. There's not enough adequate parking spaces to accommodate a fourplex with a 1-car garage. The design and appearance of the development will have a negative impact on the character and appearance of the area. Loss of sunlight, loss of view. Fourplex will obstruct. Excessive noise and pollution from the construction. What materials will the developer be using? The metal fire escapes at the back of the home definitely gives it more of a commercial feeling than residential. And finally, the signature on the letters of support, the majority of the residents who signed those letters will not be impacted by this project. And so my suspicion falls to the birds of a feather scenario. The folks supporting this proposal will not be directly affected by this proposal, as their views won't be impacted because they border the ravine on Westbury Crescent, which is way down the other way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. Do we have another speaker at this point? Or?
So, Mr. Chair, that's everyone that I can see on my list. Now, with that being said, I did have recently a call-in user just randomly kind of show up.
Okay.
And I didn't, and they came in after my microphone check. So if you don't mind, I've been whispering in my ear that
give them a check.
Awesome, thank you. Microphone check for call-in user 416759. Can you please identify yourself? Call-in user. Hello.
Hello.
Hi there.
Yes.
Sorry. Who is?
This is regarding.
Yeah. Who are you?
I don't know why I'm on here, but I'm trying to get a deferral for 69 10th Street.
Okay, stand by.
69 10th.
69. Oh, sorry. Are you Patrick?
Yes.
You are Patrick. Okay, cool. This is a good time for me to do this right now while we're here. Thank you, Patrick. Just so you know, you didn't call in using the phone number you provided for us. In the future, make sure you call in using the phone number you provided for us. And this is also a good opportunity for me to quickly just jump in here. Folks who might have been logged in for the 3 p.m. session, just so you guys know, we're currently during the 1 p.m. session, which ended up starting at 2 o'clock. So we are currently in the 1 p.m. session right now. So anyone that's here for the 3 p.m. session, please bear with us while we work through the 1 p.m. session. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
so that is it then.
So that is it. So
that's everyone I have.
Let's come back to the applicant, Raymond.
One moment, Mr. Chair. Cool.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm happy to respond to the comments. With regarding height and the introduction of a fourplex, as I've mentioned, we're not seeking relief regarding the height, and a fourplex is permitted. I have read the comments about the metal stairs, and I think this is actually a safety requirement for the fire exits for a requirement of the OBC. And I know that walk-up apartments, I know someone else was mentioning the proximity. There are a range of there's a range of apartment style buildings. There's 2.5 stories at 77 and 9 Juliet Crescent, which is a 2.5 story flat roof. There's 83 Bickle Avenue, which is about 140 meters south, which is also 2.5 story apartments, and then Nashville at 25 Nashville, which is a little further, about 500 meters south, 3-story flat roof. So there's a range of styles, and obviously those townhouses are much closer to Rogers Road that I previously mentioned, but just a broader area trying to acknowledge the different types of built forms in the area and on the street. Regarding parking, there is a driveway, and I suspect that not every tenant will necessarily have a car. With the Eglinton LRT coming in, there's definitely an opportunity to support active transportation and transit. And I think that wraps up everything, but I'm happy to respond to any other questions.
Okay, thank you. My only concern with this application is variance 1. And I think we had a similar one in the morning session where, given that this is a larger and more intense use than what was there now, I'd ideally like to see a smaller variance on that. Can you comment on whether that's possible or whether the house will become too narrow?
I don't have the architect on hand right now, so I could reach out to them if there's a few minutes, but I think right now I can tell you off the hand that, to minimize that, there are privacy screening at the rear deck, and there's no windows proposed on that east elevation in response to those concerns.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, any questions? No. Okay, so we'll take it into committee then. Any comments? If you're ready for a motion.
I'd like to move a motion for approval. I do believe the application meets the 4 tests. And as there are no conditions.
I forgot to ask what was the existing side yard setback, but that's okay. So there's a motion on the floor for approval by Mr. Dalton. Is there a seconder to that motion?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Popovic. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, it passes on a 4-1. So it's approved.
Again, just a quick reminder for folks who are here expecting the 3 p.m. session. We are currently doing the 1 p.m. session, and as soon as we complete the 1 p.m. session, we'll look to start the 3 p.m. session. Feel free to hang around in the WebEx if you want. Otherwise, just keep an eye.
Okay, item 25 was deferred, so we're on to item 26, and I'd like to suggest we do a break after doing item 26. So item 26 is 310 Prince Edward Drive South. This is an application to permit a hammerhead parking area. There are 3 variances being requested. Transportation is requesting 3 conditions of approval in the event that we approve. Forestry is recommending refusal, or in the alternative, condition 3. And we have an objection from number 4, Ashton. Welcome.
Hi. Good afternoon, committee. Thank you. I appreciate you guys hearing my request for variances. May I begin presentation? Yes.
Just a quick question to start. Did you have your baby yet?
No, thank you for asking. I was trying to score some brownie points with my wife and my youngest daughter, but they had to leave to go pick up my older daughter from school. So I appreciate the question.
Too many kids.
She is 9 months, 9 months pregnant, so it's coming.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for
whether
remembering.
you want it or not.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're going to need a presentation.
You would like one? Yes.
Yes, please.
Absolutely. So essentially, this is a simple request in a sense. Looking to, so the 3 variances would be, and remember, I've changed this application from it was original. I had a lot more hard landscaping I was requesting, and because of the comments through the deferrals from transportation to various industries, I actually reduced all of the sizes. So I went from, 8%, I guess, from the required landscaping to 66% when it was required of 75. So basically what I've done was I've remapped how I can widen this driveway and create a bit of a turnaround. So Prince Edward is an incredibly, surprisingly busy street. I didn't know when I bought the house. It was pretty crazy. So
it's probably worse now with the lane closures on.
It's terrible, yeah, and exactly with the bike lanes and whatnot on Bloor, it's just worse. Traffic is steady. So I drive my daughter to school every morning, and just to get out of the driveway, it takes a while. Like I'm there for minutes, possibly 4 minutes, just to try to get out of the driveway. It's a safety concern because backing out onto Prince Edward is terrible. And because we have the fire station next door, immediately to the south, and that's the only neighbor I have to the south, and then I have one neighbor to the north. I've had several instances where I've backed out, and then the car in front of me would stop, and then the fire truck would try to come out, and the guy that was coming along would stop, so I'm jammed in there, and I can't go backward, I can't go forward, and now I've impeded the fire truck. So the plan with the hammerhead was to try and be able to turn the cars around and face them forward so that I can just drive out. The other thing is that the driveway itself, the curb depression, is something interesting because it goes from my neighbor to the north. It's one long curb depression all the way south. And when I measure the curb depression, this is how I aligned the driveway the first time. It's actually about 5.4, 5.5 meters from my property line, so going south. So it's some people might think, hey, you widened your driveway, which is not true. When I bought the house, there was no driveway. There was no front yard, there was no driveway, there was no side yard, there was nothing. Because there was an elderly man living there. He hired a contractor, I guess made a deal. They ripped everything out, side, front, steps, like everything was gone. And then he passed away, unfortunately. I purchased the house in that condition because I'm in construction myself, so I figured I can do it. So I took the line of the curb depression and drew it up. And I added about 1.5 feet or so to the left to give myself a bit of kind of wiggle room. So I'm asking for the variance of a 5.4 meter width of that driveway, which falls in line with that curb depression. And I believe transportation was okay with that, I guess, with a condition. I read some of the comments. I can address those now or later if it's up to you. Forestry as well had some comments in there. And it's interesting that Forestry had those comments because they've took a picture and it's part of the file there. And it's kind of the boulevard in front of the house. So, you know, where the driveway comes up and the boulevard, there's a catch basin there. There's no trees that have ever been planted there or can be planted there. And they don't plant trees on this property side or within the right-of-way, I guess, whatever we'll call on this side of the sidewalk. There's infrastructure from Bell and everything. I had that all located when I was excavating for the driveway. So there's no trees that can be planted. Doesn't matter if I had a 3.5 meter driveway or a 5.4 meter driveway. It won't matter. You can't put any trees there.
What about in your garden? You've got a blocked off garden in front of your doorway. Like, it looks like a fairly substantial garden, and there doesn't seem to be any plants in there at all. Is that a possibility for a tree?
No, because on my property it is, and that's the plan. To be honest, in the new kind of proposal, I didn't draw any trees. I should have drawn trees because this is like a rush. I got married in 2018. It was gravel, and my wife said, "You better, like, I'm not walking out of the house with a wedding dress on dirt." So I quickly created basically a driveway and a scenario with the idea of having a hammerhead. So the infrastructure, if you see just, I guess, what would that be, west of the sidewalk, that's all Bell infrastructure, like maybe for about 5 feet. So I can't touch any of that. There's conduits everywhere in there. I had that located. There's also a gas line. The only way I can put a tree would be on my property, which I'm okay with. I want to put shrubs and trees and kind of beautify that front. That's kind of the whole plan with this. I didn't want to do anything until I obviously got approval. So that is the plan.
I think the alternative from Forestry is they'll take some money from you for a new tree.
This is what I'm saying. Like, you're going to make me pay for trees that you could have never put in anyway. You can't. Like, if you look at Prince Edward, there's trees and you can see the tree line. Well, I guess you can't see it from that picture, but behind, so to the north, there's trees in the boulevard. That's where the line of trees are. You cannot put it. There's a catch basin there. There's nowhere to put a tree, and it has laterals. One of my family business, something I've been doing my whole life, is municipal sewer water main. That's what I do, and waterproofing, oddly enough. I know exactly how the catch basins work. I install them for cities. I've done work for the last 30 years in this industry. You can't put a tree there. You just can't. Weepers and the lateral going down to the street, there's no room. So that's why I was kind of confused why Forestry would make those comments and say, oh, maybe you should pay for 2 trees that would have gone there. I don't know where I would put them. I have no idea. The city will not plant the trees there. And there's the curb depression, like I said, goes all the way from my property to my neighbor's property to the north. There is no area to put anything. It's all curb depression.
Okay, I think we kind of got the picture.
Okay.
And I think that's why Forestry's alternate proposal is to make you pay cash in lieu for 1 tree. So if you're okay with that.
I do have another question, though.
just don't
So this is not asphalt. Are these permeable pavers?
Yes.
Oh, they are?
Well, they're interlock, yeah. So they're just.
Yeah, so there is gaps in between so the water
sure.
can soak down in.
For sure.
Okay.
What's the current percentage of hardscaping on the front?
The current percentage of hard landscaping?
Hard versus soft. Like, what is this? Is what you're asking for what's already there, or are you looking to change this?
No, I changed what was there because my original zoning review, they assessed it at whatever it was. And I don't have it in front of me. I apologize, but it's in the file. I think they calculated like 8% of the 75%, the way I have it. Because if you look at the drawing, I don't really have much driveway. I didn't realize how much of that is actually city right of way. It's very small. Like, if I park my vehicle, I have a standard light duty truck, and if I touch the nose to the garage, I think I'm a little bit over the property line. There's just no way to do it. And Prince Edward is set up that way where it's very similar. People are parking in tandem, same way, same. Some of them have single driveways and whatnot, but they park one car in front of another. I can't do that because I encroach over the sidewalk when my wife parks her car behind mine. So there's no way to put the cars. I have to put them side by side. And I'm not going to ask my wife to park on different street and walk the kids, even if that's not permitted overnight
Okay,
anyway.
what I'm getting at is, I'm trying to look at what's proposed and what's existing.
Yep.
And what's existing, from what I can see from Google Street View, is you've got interlock right in front of your house, in addition to the driveway.
Correct.
And that's not reflective of your existing drawing. But the drawing that you submitted, PO1, shows a straight driveway only. So are you looking at actually providing more soft scaping than what exists there now?
So this was the drawing that was submitted when I did my permit for the interior renovations. This is an old drawing. So this was created by the architect who provided my permit drawings. There was no driveway at this point at all. That didn't exist. He made that
but
up.
what exists now is what...
So what exists now was my very first proposal.
I don't know what your very first proposal is. I want to know, what is your current proposal?
Absolutely. So my what I mean by my existing or my original was the zoning bylaw assessment. I'm sorry, what was it called? The zoning
review.
Thank you. I apologize. The zoning review that was first done was how the driveway is now.
Okay, but the zoning review doesn't include any drawings.
The zoning, I signed a waiver for zoning review based on the new numbers that I created, a new proposal that is going to basically take the driveway that I have now, and I have to cut it into the shape to add more soft landscape.
That's what I'm getting at.
I'm sorry, yes, correct.
If we were to walk in front of your house right now versus what you're asking for, you're going to wind up with more soft landscaping than you have today right now.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm trying to clarify.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes. I know it's
You're making it more complicated than it needs to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. I'm trying to achieve more soft landscaping to accommodate all the comments.
Perfect. That's all I'm trying to establish.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And it's going to look nicer too, because it doesn't really, I'm not a
Well,
fan.
right now, yeah, it's
ugly.
got
ugly.
it.
You
Okay.
can say it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It's ugly as sin. Yes. I got it.
Okay.
I would personally, I'm just going to, I would rather waive the forestry condition and get them to take that money and put it into landscaping.
I appreciate that.
That's what I would rather,
You can't do that. You can't tell how.
I can't, no, well, I know it's not any way I can follow up with that, but.
I don't understand the forestry condition because you cannot put trees. So why am I paying for trees that can't even go?
Because you're going to pay for someone else's tree.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. If you can't put one on your property,
It's about increasing the tree canopy.
It's about,
I see. Okay, that makes more sense to me. That makes
They'll
more sense.
plant another tree where they can plant it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I don't know. Yeah.
we got it. So now,
That makes sense.
I'm assuming there are other speakers on this?
There is one other speaker, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and are they virtual?
Correct.
Okay, so if we can have them come up, please. Is it Debbie Day?
Correct, Mr. Chair. I'm just gonna, there we go. Deborah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just listening to his presentation, I'm just a little confused. I am a side yard neighbor to 310 Prince Edward on Ashton Manor. When I walk by his house currently, his entire front yard is paved with he has interlocking.
Yep, that's what we were getting at.
There's not a lot of, and so now he says he wants to put more soft landscaping. I'm not quite sure what he's doing there. I'm surprised when he commented that he's in the water industry. My concern is this: with all the hard landscaping on his property and all the hard landscaping, which is 100% of the fire department, we have quite a bit of water drainage issues, and they're all seeping into number 2 and number 4 Ashton Manor. And when he says he's waterproofing, whatever, my concern is with having this variance, I would like to have somebody attend at the property 310 and figure out where he's going to drain his roof water, because currently on the south side of his property, his east trough literally doesn't have a downspout. It just spews out onto the parking lot of the fire department, and he has also got a retaining wall with a little bit of retaining wall with a fence on top, where he's taken his pipe and put it through the retaining wall to drain onto the fire department. Now, you can clarify for me, I'm understanding there's a bylaw in the city of Toronto that homeowners cannot drain their water onto neighboring property. And that's exactly what's happening at 310.
That's correct.
Which is going on.
I'm going to interrupt you for a minute, if I may. What you have said is correct. And if you have an issue with that, I would suggest you contact bylaw standards.
MLNS will investigate that.
Well, we've been dealing with bylaw standards. We've been dealing with the city on the water issue for over a year. We just thought it was an opportunity to make it known that.
Okay, but there's nothing that we can do about that, and that's not the issue that's before us right now. But if you have a concern with that, I would suggest you get in touch with municipal bylaws and standards.
Municipalized bylaw standards. Okay. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so if you have any other comments with regards to the driveway, and this is what we were trying to establish, is that.
Okay, well, his current driveway as it is, I don't understand when he says he can't back out. He could do a 3-point turn in that driveway, no problem, and get out onto Prince Edward.
Yes, he can, but it's not legal, and he's trying to legalize it. And in legalizing, he's actually going to remove some of that driveway. That's what we were that's what we just established earlier.
Okay,
so
all right.
We're actually going to improve the softscaping on the front lawn.
Okay.
Okay, and with regards to the water issues, as I said, municipal bylaws and standards.
Okay.
Okay.
And will they come out and inspect and is their job to come out and inspect the property to see what's happening, where water's going?
Yes, it is.
Oh, all right. I'll do that then. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not sure you need to rebut that.
There's one thing I would like to say, because I understand, I know they use the kind of crash the platform crash the hearing, give themselves a platform. I understand. Ashton Manor is not my side yard neighbor. There's an entire fire station back that it's way not even close. My backyard, if they would like to know about water and how it would get there, was a 6-foot difference in elevation from my neighbor to the fire station. I'm about 2 feet higher than the fire station. So we're in a valley like this. And the fire station driveway runs all along the whole side of my property to a rear lot catch basin, which is intended to catch water from everywhere. If I left my backyard the way it was with that slope, they would have had piles of water right over the retaining wall, no problem in that.
And you would have had it in your basement too, but it's...
Sorry?
You would have had some in your basement too.
I would have, yes. Well, the first thing I did was waterproof my house as soon as I bought it. That's the exact thing.
But anyway, we're spinning here.
Absolutely.
And, you know, this is a straightforward application.
Yep.
We understand what you're trying to do. It's going to make things better.
Yep.
I don't think there's a lot of debate here, so.
I appreciate that.
I'm going to shut it down there.
Okay.
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 Can I, anyone ready for a motion? Or is there any other questions?
Or comments?
Okay, I'll make it. Given all that information, I do believe the application meets the 4 tests, subject to the conditions in the forestry and transportation memos.
Okay, which forestry? F3, I believe, is what they're saying.
3.
Cash in lieu. Because
they wanted to refuse it.
Sorry.
It's actually number 5 or number 3.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, I have condition
I have
number
3.
I have 3 too.
Yes.
Which is $583 a tree.
Per tree. And how many trees do they want me to pay for? Just 1. There's also another condition, I think, from transportation. Is it?
There's three conditions which really amount to 1, but it's the way they phrased it. And they're basically just asking you to redraw some things.
Okay. I feel like I'm getting set up with one of those.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if we're in committee, then we can't
should,
hear
yeah.
from the speaker.
Okay.
And
Fair.
there's a motion on the floor. To approve?
Okay.
The motion is to approve?
Are you including
Conditions?
transportation conditions? And forestry condition 3,
I'll
okay.
second that.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, unanimous approval.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I appreciate your time.
Good luck with the new baby.
Thank you. I need it. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, I'd love to keep going, but I think you might have mentioned you were considering and interested a break at some point. So I don't know.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask.
Oh, yeah. If it's, I got my clock says 3:15, so we could take a little 15 and come back at 3:30.
Perfect.
Awesome.
We don't need that.
Okay, everybody. We're gonna take a quick recess, 15 minutes, and we will restart the meeting at 3:30. Again, for people that may not be aware, we are doing the 1 p.m. session right now. Our 9:30 a.m. session went a bit long, and we didn't start the 1 p.m. session until 2 o'clock. And so we are working through the 1 p.m. session right now. So please bear with us while we do that. And the 3 p.m. session will start as soon as possible after the completion of the 1 p.m. session.
She got remarried. They're not all that different.
Huh?
They're not all that different. They're violated.
Well, some of them are quite interested in the verbiage and how it can get twisted.
Yeah, sometimes your hands are kind of tied. You know what you want to do.
Together. 27, 28, I want to do together. These are the people who want this order. Okay, that's good.
he's gonna get a notification that he spent more than that week ago. He's gonna start getting stigma on him. Well, no, like,
A lot of the girls in it.
yeah.
Yeah, well, we got two refusal reports. So that's good. So we're about to do that.
On vacation. He's in. No offense, I'd rather be there. Yeah.
So just want to, hi everybody, my name is Adam Wells, application technician with the Community Adjustment in Etobicoke, New York. Just want to touch base with folks who might be here for the 3 p.m. Session to let you know that we are currently working through the 1 p.m. session still. Our 9:30 a.m. session went a bit longer, and we didn't start our 1 p.m. session until 2 p.m. So we are working through that right now. We are on coming up to item number 27. And as soon as we complete the 1 p.m. session, we'll look to start the 3 p.m. session as soon as possible. Thank you.
Wouldn't be the first time.
I think we can look to get this restarted here.
Okay, welcome back. We're in the afternoon session dealing now with item 27. I would like to deal with items 27 and 28 together. I believe it's the same applicant, and they are sort of similar applications, one being one next to the other. So it's 80 Mimico Avenue and 78 Mimico Avenue. The first one is an application to alter the existing building to include a total of 3 dwelling units and 1 commercial unit at grade. There are 4 variances being requested. Forestry is requesting condition 2. 78 Mimico Avenue is an application to alter the existing building to include a total of 10 dwelling units and 1 commercial unit at grade. There are 3 variances being requested for that application. And if we can get the agent, Joanne Fast.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon. You're okay with if we deal with both of them together?
Yes, that's fine with me.
Okay, great. Can you give us a brief overview? I think we know what's up, but just the same, given that we're condensing the two, perhaps you could do a brief overview of both.
Sure, absolutely. I did have a presentation prepared, but I know that we're running behind schedule, so I'll try to give a brief summary, and if I have to refer to the presentation or you have any questions, I'll ask staff to bring that up. So these are existing heritage buildings, and the owner is proposing to do some interior renovations to allow for dwelling units and for a commercial unit, 1 commercial unit at the front of each building. We're proposing to eliminate the shared laneway or driveway that exists between the 2 buildings, so it won't be used anymore. And we're not proposing any parking at the rear anymore, which was a concern for staff and some area residents when this application came before the Committee of Adjustment a number of years ago. And so now the variances just reflect the fact that we have dwelling units on the ground floor. They'll be behind the commercial units. So the commercial units will front onto Mimico Avenue. And there's dwelling units above as well. And the dwelling units will have access from on each building, one has access on the side and the rear, and the other has an access from the rear for those dwelling units. And the last variance would be for the parking. As the committee is well aware, the City of Toronto recently changed their main parent bylaw to remove minimum parking standards. And now parking standards within the City of Toronto are generally regulated by market demand. And so we're not proposing any parking spaces for these buildings. There's 1 parking space that would be required for the commercial units in each building. There's plenty of on-street parking available, as well as many green parking lots in the area. The site has very good access to transit. And the remainder of the units, they're smaller units. We expect that they'll be affordably priced, and that renters will not have vehicles, and that they'll take advantage of local transit opportunities. So I do acknowledge that we received 1 letter of support for the applications. They want to see these buildings refurbished and cleaned up. They've been sitting vacant for a long time. There's been some issues with squatters coming into the buildings. So they were in support of the applications. We did receive 1 letter of opposition to the revised applications, and I believe that they didn't understand that there were still commercial uses proposed at the front of these buildings, that was their concern, that there still be commercial, and we are proposing that. And there was 1 old objection letter from when the application previously came forward to the Committee of Adjustment, and their concern was with the rear parking and the shared driveway, which has been eliminated. They also had concerns with the number of units, but that has not changed. I do acknowledge that we have staff support for these applications. Go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Thank you.
Mr.
No,
Chair.
no, it's okay. I thought you were done. If you're not, please continue.
I don't need to go over too much more unless you'd like more details on the application. I believe that this is a desirable
No, I
addition
just
to the
have
community.
questions, so I just wanted to
Okay.
ask those, but I didn't want to interrupt your presentation if you weren't done. So are you good for
I'm
questions
done
now?
now, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Yes.
You said that you're keeping the required parking for commercial. Where are you providing that?
So there is one parking space required for the commercial units for each application. So a total of two, I guess you could say, for the two buildings.
Right.
And we're proposing that on-street parking would accommodate the commercial units.
Okay, but the commercial, so you're saying that the required parking for the commercial units is going to be on the street?
Yeah, so we're requesting a variance to permit no parking spaces on site, and that anyone who visits the commercial space would utilize on-street parking.
So then you're not providing the parking for the commercial spaces on site?
That's correct. That is the variance we're asking for, and that's how people would park. They would, if they were driving to visit the site,
No,
they would use on-street
I
parking.
understand that, but earlier you just said that you're providing parking for the commercial units, and now you're saying you're not.
There is no parking provided
At all?
on site.
And what's the rationale?
That's correct.
And what is the rationale for not providing any parking when you do have the existing driveway?
And a small parking lot.
So the existing driveway is, Mr. Chair, the existing driveway is very narrow. It's 3.5 meters wide, and it would be very tight for a car to go in, and it's only one car wide. So there would be conflicts with cars coming in and out. It's also right in front of a bus stop, and so that is the rationale for removing the parking on the site.
What are you planning to do with that driveway? Is it be blocked off?
Yes, it would be blocked off by a gate.
And then the rear green space or potential green space to the rear of both of these sites, is there going to be any amenity space provided for tenants?
Well, right now, at the rear of the site, it's very overgrown. There aren't
we hope that
any
we hope it
specific
won't
plans
stay
that I'm
that way.
aware of. That's right. I don't have any specific plans that were provided by my client for rear amenity space, but it's anticipated that it could be used for that purpose.
Okay.
Since it no longer has conflicts with vehicles.
Right, and currently the area behind 80 MIMICO, I believe, is indicated as asphalt.
That area, I think at one time was asphalt. When I looked at historical air photos, it looks like there was cars parked there. But it is quite overgrown. When I went out there, I couldn't quite tell what was underneath all of the weeds.
Okay, so you don't know what the current surface is?
I believe that it was paved at one point. Like I said, it's very overgrown back there.
Will you be subject to site plan control?
I haven't had those discussions with staff. They haven't, it's not a condition that's been required. That would be a question for staff.
Okay, so would you be opposed if we were to require some green space in the back?
I guess, what are you thinking in terms of green space?
Garden,
I'm thinking soft landscaping.
Okay, I think that we could do that. I just don't know,
Well,
could you, would this be
just,
a condition?
like an answer saying that it's overgrown with weeds and you don't know what's going to happen to it, to me, just doesn't cut it. Like, you have an application. I would like this application to be holistic.
Okay, I understand. Yes, we can propose some green space at the back. I don't have any specifics of what that could be. Perhaps you could give me some guidance of what you're thinking of, whether it be gardens, benches, grass.
Yeah,
all of the above.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't
I
think
just don't know how specific we could get.
I don't think we're going to get that specific, but that was why I wanted to know whether you were subject to site plan control on these applications or not. Madam Secretary Treasurer, can you enlighten us on that? Would they be required to do that or no?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I've looked at the zoning review and it doesn't state that site plan control is required as applicable law.
Okay. Yeah, because it's too small of a project. So we may wind up being the site plan control.
Can we impose that condition?
Through you, Mr. Chair, what you could do is have them draw up a landscape plan, and then perhaps maybe that could go through community planning. And community planning could review that plan and then sign off on being satisfied of that landscape plan. That's an option.
Between the two buildings, there will be 13 units, is that correct?
Residential units.
Residential units, not including the commercial at grade. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, yes, that is correct.
Okay, so
I'm not
I
sure
would
who you're asking.
think that warrants some sort of attention to the backyard. It's not just 1 or 2 residential units, it's 13, so that would be nice.
Yeah, I think what they've done is, it's 2 separate numbered companies, so they're treating it separately. Although I assume it's probably the same owners, or it's probably the same directors of both companies. But,
Well, one issue that you talked about, that gate blocking off the driveway, but if you're gonna have some kind of green space at the back, you're gonna have something where the driveways are, either where those get overgrown.
well, I think what you do is there should be an approved landscaping plan, which will show hard surfaces like walkways in the alleyway and something in the back. And I think,
Make that a condition. Is that planning you have to enforce that?
yes.
Okay.
And that's what we're discussing. There are no other.
Mr. Chair, I would be okay with that condition.
Okay.
And there is an urban forestry number 2 condition too.
Forestry number 2 for number 80, I don't believe they have any conditions for 78. Okay.
I have a
Yes,
comment.
Ms. Mahoney.
And perhaps, Madam Agent, you could comment on this as well, picking up on my colleague's comment about closing off the pathway between the 2 buildings. It seems like a lost opportunity. It looks like there's, I don't know what the width is, but certainly enough to do something of interest besides just gate it off. Maybe there's a nice gate you could install. But maybe it's another opportunity for a bit more greenery. I don't know what would grow between those 2 buildings, but have you had any conversations with your client about making some use, whether it's just aesthetic, of that laneway instead of just letting it perhaps sit idle? Or
Well, I think what we do is
Like graffiti.
we subject all of the property other than the built form to the landscape plan, including the alleyway.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
It seems to be collecting a lot of graffiti already, so maybe a mural is in order.
Okay, any more discussion, or if there are no more questions for the applicant, I'm going to bring it into committee.
Mr. Chair, there is, sorry, it's not on your list, but there is an area resident.
There is a
in
speaker.
chambers-
Okay, sorry.
In chambers here to speak, yes.
Okay, well, let's have that.
I didn't notice that.
Sorry. Welcome.
Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. Thank you for allowing us to speak today. My name is Graham Hogle from the Hogle Funeral Home.
Oh, yeah.
I have questions in case you have. We are the property owners that are located around these 2 properties. And we are the ones who have submitted concerns about the parking issues in the past and the access to the laneway. When we look at the variances, we're still very concerned about the idea that no parking is being accommodated in any way. You heard the planner talk about green pea parking, which is probably 1 kilometer away at best, maybe more. And up and down the street and across the whole area, the parking spaces are completely full. Recently, the city did a whole study about traffic calming in the area, wanting to put bollards and speed bumps, and having looked at MIMICO Avenue being a 2-way street, and decided because of the congestion that's already existed with the current residents, this is not something they would accommodate or look at. They acknowledge the fact that the area is congested, and this proposal adds to the congestion. We would probably want to see some sort of holistic view of the whole properties put together to say, how can we bring something that would be amenable to the community? Because she is correct. These have been derelict buildings for many years, many years, previous owners included. But something that could accommodate that the property could be used to its proper potential, including parking, including soft landscaping, including the historical combinations that the city have already just put in place just recently. So we would not favor any of these variances that have been put in place. In fact, we consider them quite major variances, and we are very concerned about the safety of the buildings located to the property line, especially considering we have 3 schools in the area. As was mentioned, the bus stop is actively used, especially by children. I think more development potential is there to include these softscapes, and we would look for a better development proposal, I would suggest. That's all I have to say, unless you have questions.
We do.
Go right ahead.
I'm assuming your principal concern is the lack of parking.
Major, yes.
Okay.
There is no side access, like there's no side setbacks from any of our properties. Property is very overly accommodated.
Understood.
And we're really concerned about the parking of the
Okay.
area.
Do you agree that the driveway is too narrow, or do you think it's usable?
No, it's not usable. It's very narrow. You could not get an emergency vehicle down there. You can barely get a vehicle down there.
Okay.
Mini Cooper, maybe.
Yeah.
Mini Cooper, maybe.
So given that your property abuts to the side and also to the rear, and I believe it's your visitor parking
Yes.
that does so,
Yes.
would you be amenable to providing them access from your parking lot?
They've never approached us or talked to us or even.
No, but I'm just
returned to
asking
us.
you whether you would be amenable.
I guess we would have to look at any proposals, but we've contacted these people many times before with no returns. So
Because potentially you would have to lose a couple of spots in order to give them access, though, right?
that's to get access from the back. You mean?
Yeah.
We would have to look at that. But again, we've never heard back
But
from.
would you be
these people.
amenable to do that?
Again, I can't give a yes or no because I haven't had any discussions with them on this matter.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not getting into that.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
sorry, is there anyone else have any questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to come back to the agent then, and I guess the same question, or perhaps he could address the previous applicant's concerns, and then I'll ask the same question about the amenability to provide parking through their parking lot.
Mr. Chair, thank you for allowing me to speak again. After this application came forward to the Committee of Adjustment the first time, the owner actually investigated knocking these buildings down and tearing them down. At that time, they were not designated heritage, and looked at doing a holistic plan, building a new building, because it's difficult to work with what's there because of the narrow laneway, etc. And then because of that application, it triggered a review by staff, and then the city decided to designate these buildings as heritage buildings. And so we have very limited ability to do anything with the buildings. Through the review of this application, we had to work with heritage and keep everything sort of as is, especially at the front of the building. And so we're working with what we have. I do think that the opportunity to be able to offer affordable rental units in this area is a benefit to the city. The units would be marketed as not having parking spaces. So whoever would rent these buildings knows that they have no designated parking space. And so I don't think that parking is a major issue. We can look at doing a holistic landscape plan so that overall the two buildings look better, especially down that laneway that will be closed off. It will be used as an access. There's a side door on one of the buildings, so it'll be maintained, things like that. It won't be overgrown once these units get renovated. You know, with respect to having access from the neighbors' lands, I'm not sure whether my client would be amenable to that or not, just because we haven't had those conversations. And that's all I can say.
Thank you. That's fair. I just, when someone presents a problem, I try to present a solution. But I know that's not really our role here to, you know, we're not here to do mediation. We're here to decide on variances. But I just think it would be favorable to at least have some discussions with the funeral home with regards to some kind of off-hour commercial use when they don't need it. If they're amenable to that, I mean, parking is going to become a major issue in this area if it isn't already. And I think I had some comments in the morning session about, you know, everyone refers to the green P lots, but those green P lots are not going to be there in perpetuity. In fact, they may not be there that much longer. Anyway, those are my comments.
I'm just looking at Street View, Google Street View, dated May 2024. It looks like the building right beside it, right on the corner, looks like it's boarded up. One of the windows is boarded up. And I'm just wondering, is that vacant?
That building was before us about a year or year and a half ago.
Was it?
Yeah.
That corner?
And we did approve it. We did approve some modifications there, so I'm surprised that it's boarded up. What's the date on the street view?
May 2024. It's got a boarded up window, and I'm just wondering if it's potentially for sale. You can answer that question. Oh, are you?
That's when you said all sides, you meant all sides.
And do you mind me asking what your immediate plans are for that property?
Come on up to the mic.
We are in discussions with different ideas about what we could do, possibly to just renovate the interior, possibly incorporate as part of the use for the funeral home. We have plans to utilize it because there's space behind that we could access for parking. We may look at use for funeral home, use for staffing. We haven't decided on it, but we
Is that
do
designated as well? Heritage?
It is designated as well. All three were designated at the same time.
Yeah, it's.
There's another opportunity for parking access to the two sites in question as well.
I mean, I just spent last week in New York City, and that's one of the things they do really well is they protect their heritage, and I would hate to see this opportunity lost. I think that, you know, there's a great opportunity here to do something fantastic, and we just have to figure out what it is. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone? There are no other speakers, I'm assuming?
Nothing else, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So I think potentially we have a really good application here. It's a question of how we mitigate some of the ancillary issues. So let's take it into committee. Is there any other discussion?
I'm just looking at what the nearest subway station or GO train station would be to this. Is there any MIMICO? MIMICO GO?
But it's a good distance from there.
Okay.
I have a comment, Mr. Chair. I agree with my colleague's comments about preserving heritage buildings, and you can see the potential here. These could be very, very nice looking. All three of them could be very nice looking. I suggest that the parking issue isn't necessarily an insurmountable problem as long as there's communication and cooperation and so forth, but also I don't think it would hurt to encourage in this world. And so if units sorely needed were, residential units were told, or the owners or the renters were told, no cars, no parking, then that's the kind of person that you'd attract, that would be willing to walk to the GO station.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, I also feel sort of for the funeral home too, because their parking demands are going to be sporadic but intense when they need them. And I think their concern is going to be that tenants and potential visitors of those tenants are going to impinge on their spots because of the proximity. And so it's just, I think it'd be incumbent on the two parties to try to work something out. And if that be some kind of parking access, that's one option. If that doesn't happen, then at the very least, we would like to see some kind of dedicated landscaping happening to that.
Yeah, the back area.
area.
And just, there is no standing in front of the,
Because it's a bus stop.
yeah, there's a no standing sign in front of the, so there's no on-street parking. in
What's
front
the
of
other side of the street?
Let me just check it out. Huh, another parking lot.
Yeah, for the funeral home.
An abundance of riches, sir.
Okay, so it's a question of how we move forward, and I think we may need two motions. I'm not sure if we can do this all in one. We need two because there's two different.
Because
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, you can do two separate motions, one for each application.
Okay.
Because if you're going to impose the landscape plan,
Is that a third motion?
what's that?
A landscaping plan?
Yeah, if you're going to do the landscaping plan and tie that to the motion, the owner's going to want it done. I know you're saying do it holistically, but there's going to have to be one done for 78 and 8.
Correct.
And work with community planning to holistically design it, but you're going to need your A and your B to get your holistic, so you have to do it separately.
Yeah, and you've got different conditions on both of them as well, so.
So who's going to make that motion?
Too bad Don's not here.
I'll make that motion. So for item number 27, 80 Mimico Avenue, I believe the application meets the four tests. And I think it's a good application, subject to the forestry condition and the new condition that it be subject to a landscape plan that is to be approved by community planning.
Okay.
Second motion for
Do we have to say
78.
No,
that's
well, let's do them one at a
do one
time.
at a
Do we
time,
have
or-
to say that's
yeah.
being imposed by the committee, though?
Through you, Mr. Chair, well, we know it's being imposed by the committee. It's just to the satisfaction of the Director of Community Planning.
Okay.
Okay. So I need a seconder for the first motion.
Mr. Chair, I will
Ms.
second.
Popovic, okay. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous approval.
Okay. 28 for 78 Mimico Avenue. Just tie it then to, well, motion to approve, subject to, again, the landscape plan to be developed and approved by community planning. Because there are no other conditions, correct?
Correct. And a seconder?
I will second that as well.
Same seconder? Okay, all in favor? Okay, that's approved as well. Okay, thank you. And I hope you guys, in a neighborly way, figure things out.
And make a beautiful corner.
Okay.
Make a beautiful corner. It's going to be very attractive. It could be potentially beautiful, so. Yeah, okay.
Okay, and thank you to Ms. Fast. So on to item 29. 46 WATERCLIFFE Road. This is an application to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling and two-story south and north side additions. There are 8 variances being requested. Planning is requesting a condition of approval. Forestry is requesting conditions 1 and 2, and we have a support petition with 7 signatures on file. And who's our speaker? Nelson Espinola, agent.
Yes, very good afternoon, Mr.
Good
Chairman,
afternoon.
members of the committee. And Nelson here is the agent for this application.
Okay, I don't think we need a full presentation. So if you want to do like a really brief overview and then open up to questions, are you okay with that?
I'm okay with this. I would like to bring up to your attention that the addition is actually just to the south, not to the north.
Okay.
Yeah, well, this application was before you back in June 30th of 2022.
2022, yeah.
2022, that's correct. We did make some changes to accommodate some of the concerns from the planning department, more specifically with regards to this floor space index. Planning department is now on board with what we're proposing. And I think that the other minor variances are minor in nature and a good development for the area.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No? Someone ready for, there's no other speakers, right?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we may have to change then or amend the purpose of application because it does refer to two-story south and north side
Right.
additions, and the applicant has said it's just to the south.
So we're going to strike north?
As amended, yes.
Okay. I didn't cross-reference that with the drawings. I just assumed. Yeah.
So it's not a notice issue.
It's not a notice issue because we're actually deleting. Yeah. Okay. We just need to amend the purpose.
Mr.
Yep.
I'm ready if
Go ahead.
the group is ready. Thank you. So on the basis of the amended application, I believe this application meets the 4 tests. I propose approval subject to, I see a planning condition.
Yep.
And is there any other condition?
Forestry.
Forestry 1 and 2.
And forestry 1 and 2 as amended, and that's my motion.
Thank you, Ms. Popovic.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Bill, all in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Okay, item 30, 73 Thompson Avenue. This is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 9 variances being requested. This was deferred from July of this year. Planning has a condition of approval in the event that we approve. There are 17 letters of objection. Forestry is requesting condition 3. And I see Mr. Milne Price in front of the microphone. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, fellow committee members. For the record, my name is Addison Milne Price, planner at Design Plan Services, located at 87 Skyway Ave, here on behalf of the owners.
If you could do a presentation for us, please.
Yes, absolutely. So as mentioned, this proposal is to construct a new 2-story dwelling, and 9 variances are requested to facilitate this. Before I touch on the variances themselves, I just want to point out that I have reviewed the reports issued by planning staff and forestry staff, and I note that neither department has raised any objections or concerns to this proposal. I can also confirm that we would have no issues complying with the recommended conditions of staff. Now, to touch on the variance. So variance 1 pertains to the total lot coverage, and the amount requested by the variance is now 36.94%, which translates to roughly 170 square meters. This is a lot coverage that is similar to several recent applications in the neighborhood and along Thompson Ave. But I want to point out that this proposed lot coverage includes the existing ancillary structure. The proposed lot coverage of just the new building is just over 35%, which equates to 10 square meters above what is permitted as of right for lot coverage. The proposed lot coverage is going to be in keeping with the pattern of development trends in the area, as evidenced by several recent decisions by this committee that I can get into. Variance 2 pertains to FSI, and this proposed FSI represents a building envelope that's substantially in accordance with the building envelope intended by the zoning bylaw. As I will explain in a moment, there are only minor changes requested to 2 of the setbacks, but importantly, the proposed dwelling has a building length of 15.47 meters, whereas the maximum building length is 17 meters. The rear main wall of the building is set back a considerable distance to the rear lot line, especially compared to the rear main wall of the adjacent building to the south. So in my view, this is a building that will fit in quite well with this existing neighborhood. Variance 3 pertains to the front yard setback. Again, front yard setback variances less than what are proposed or similar to are actually quite common along Thompson Ave, and I can speak to that if requested. But I want to specifically point out that the proposed front wall of this dwelling will only extend 34 centimeters beyond the front wall of the building to the north. Of course, now the building to the north, the current situation does extend beyond the existing building at 73 Thompson, and there is no great situation or impact felt by that. So in my view, this would be a similar situation. I also want to point out that although the front porch is encroaching into the front yard setback, this is something that is permitted by the zoning bylaw up to a certain amount depending on your front yard setback that's required. And the front yard porch that we're proposing is still in a location that's permitted by the bylaw, as evidenced by the fact that there's no variance requested for that. Now, if I can just speak to the setbacks requested, the proposed side yard on the south yard of the proposal is now as of right, and this variance only pertains to the northern setback and the aggregate setback. If staff could kindly bring up the site plan and perhaps zoom in slightly for those online, I'd like to point out that roughly a third of the wall actually complies with the side yard setback on the north side. The small difference is just this little jut in, as you can see, and that jut in is actually compliant. And to me, that illustrates the minor nature of the relief that is being requested. I think it's also relevant to point out that the current north side yard setback of the building is 0.43 meters, and so this proposal will be essentially doubling the side yard setback on the north side. In addition, the side yard setback of both neighbors on either side of the subject property are not compliant with the zoning bylaw, and what we're proposing will be in line with this existing character of the neighborhood. Now, to quickly speak to height and the remaining variances with my 1 minute remaining, I would like to point out that the reason why the main wall height variance is indicated at both 8.76 meters and 6.28 meters is because the height is including the gable roofs at the top. You can see by looking at the elevations on all sides that the main wall height will indeed be 6.2 meters as measured from established grade. Gable roofs are very common in this neighborhood, and if you were to pick any random house on Thompson Ave, it's likely that you'd find a gable roof that looks very similar to the proposed front elevation. In terms of the overall height, the proposed number is consistent with heights that have been seen in the neighborhood and will be consistent with what has been approved recently by this committee. I'll speak to the last three variances just very briefly. The proposed driveway width, it recognizes the existing driveway width on the property, which means there'll be no change in curb cut. We are proposing, however, to replace the driveway with permeable pavers. With respect to the rear yard soft landscaping, I'll point out that the rear yard landscaping is unchanged from the current rear yard landscaping. As such, I don't believe that keeping this situation will cause any impact on the adjacent neighbors. And lastly, with regard to the parking space variance, this represents a very minor change to what's permitted by the zoning bylaw. I'll note that transportation staff have not made any objection to this size, and the parking space will be sufficient for the needs of the owner.
Thank you for almost making it on time. He's good. Okay, any questions? No, okay. So we'll ask you to take a seat and we'll go through the other deputants first.
So, Mr. Chair, first we'll call on Tony Zaspalis. Tony, go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. My name is Tony Zaspalis. I live at 64 Brentwood Road South, and that's directly behind 73 Thompson. So our main living area and backyard face the rear of the applicant's property. We opposed their original application back in July, and I know it was refused or deferred, and we feel that the revisions made by the applicants in this application are simply just, they're not significant. There's still 9 variances, and in my view, they're not minor. And frankly, as a new build, not a top up, as a new build, I don't see any justification for front yard or side yard variances. Specifically, I'd like to highlight that the committee, to the best of my knowledge, has never approved a side yard setback variance on a new build in our area. And, this coupled with the front yard setback, the lot coverage, the height variances, the wall height variances, in my view, it's just pushing the envelope too far. And it's going to have a significant negative impact on the streetscape. And it really will set a dangerous trend for the neighborhood, in my view. When we built our house a few years back, and we had to go to committee. In our application, we didn't seek a front yard variance. We didn't seek any side yard variance. We didn't seek any building height variance, and we didn't have any rear yard soft landscaping variance. We did have a lot coverage of below 34.5 as compared to almost 37 in this application. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is, I think it's possible to, adhere to the bylaws for the most part, to, still have a sizable new modern home. But, without, this number and the extent of the variances currently being sought. So, I urge the committee to deny the application as it currently stands.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions from panel members? No? Okay, thank you. If we can go to the next speaker then.
Yeah, Peter is up next. Go ahead, Peter.
Okay, do we want to go to Andrew while we...
No, Mr. Chair, Peter, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
We can now.
Okay, great, thank you. Yes, it's Peter Chakras. I live at 82 Thompson. I'm part of the TOCA board, and I am part of the development committee. Just a few comments. Just to note that TOCA looks at each application individually to assess its impact on our community. And not all applications are opposed. In this particular case, we reviewed the supporting information and consider this a new build, similar to what Tony has said. And the requested setback variances have not been granted in our community in the past. As well, TOCA was approached by residents concerned with the scale of the project. And for that reason, TOCA made the decision to oppose the application in the first place, just to note that. Following the deferral in July, TOCA met with the owners to discuss the variances. They did not seem to appreciate that based on the plans they submitted, that they were subject to the provisions of a new build in this community and not simply a renovation. They made references to other homes that were received similar individual variances in the past as justification for the request. These comparisons were done without regard for whether the comparator was a new build or a renovation. Similarly, the entire application seems to disregard the cumulative impact of the excessive number of variances requested. As the chair has heard, there's 9. The owners have made some concessions in the revised application. However, the 9 variances, and only the variance related to overall height of a peaked roof, has been reduced to an acceptable level. 5 of the variances have had very minor reductions, and the other 3 variances have not been reduced at all. As a result, this revised application is still unacceptable based on the number of variances sought and the cumulative negative impact of those variances on the neighborhood. It is worth noting that the applications are considered to be made on a case-by-case basis against the established zoning bylaws governing construction development, and in this case, specifically in the Thompson Orchard. There may have been variances permitted for other developments in the past, given the unique circumstances of that specific development, such as floodplain requirements or lot configuration. The variance requested here should be considered in relation to what is permitted in the bylaws, not what has been individually permitted on other exceptional applications that may have warranted small variances for site-specific reasons. We see that planning has issued a further decision indicating that the reductions made bring the proposed development closer to the prevailing character of the neighborhood. TOCA views this as somewhat misleading in that any reduction would have that effect with the remaining variances, especially when considering the cumulative impact of those variances, continue to result in a proposed development that is not in keeping with the prevailing character of the Thompson Orchard neighborhood. For these reasons, the application should be denied. And thank you for the opportunity for TOCA to represent this.
Thank you. Any questions from panel members? No? Okay. Do we have one more speaker?
Yeah, Andrew. Andrew, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
We can now, Mr. Watson.
Okay, great. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm the former chair of TOCA. I stepped down last year. And so I'm 76 Thompson, so I'm very close to the property in question. And I just wanted to point out a couple things. In terms of, we have a database of 92 committee of adjustment applications that have been the last 20 years that have gone through our area where we have the site-specific bylaw in the Thompson Orchard area. And there has been no precedent passed whatsoever in terms of side yard and front yard setbacks being approved for a new build. That would be a precedent-setting decision if that was made, and so there's nothing there historically. And so it's important. These types of things are important decisions for a neighborhood because history matters, and we're here in the present. So then other pieces I wanted to mention was that, you know, I feel that this build is too big for the lot. We have 9 variances. The most amount of variances we've had for our site-specific bylaw area previously is 6, and so that's a lot of variances. And so in total, we see that as excessive. Now, other applications have received approval for some of these individual variances, but in totality, that's where we have the issue, and in particular, the precedent setting of the new build versus just building up from the current foundations. I also wanted to mention that in terms of water flooding, being near MIMICO Creek, our watershed, you know, is definitely getting impact in the last decade. Between 2013, where we had a major flood, and as well recently back in July, you know, want to put it out there that this excessive hardscape, driveway width, these types of things, there was a letter written in by somebody on that, and I also want to reiterate that flooding is an issue in the area, and that in terms of massing, in terms of size, I think it's really important to sort of stay within the history, stay within precedence for the neighborhood. And so I wanted to point that out as well. And those are my points. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no questions.
So,
just a comment. The applicant's architect has submitted additional information, Appendix A, of past decision notices and they provide tables addressing coverage, FSI, main wall height, side yard setback, front yard setback, and a review of that indicates that what's being asked for in this application is not out of the ordinary. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Okay. Are there any other speakers? I think that's it.
No, Mr. Chair, there are other speakers. Next up is, the ones on your list does look complete. I actually have 2 written ons after the fact.
Okay.
So,
oh, that's right.
Yeah, sorry. So Rob Scholl will be next here. Go ahead, Rob.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Rob Scholl. I reside at 48 Thompson Avenue, just about a block north of the applicants, and I've done so for the past 19 years. I am a former member of the board of directors of TOCA and a former member of the TOCA Development Committee as well. I wanted to address a couple of points, first dealing with the issue of the rationale for the variances requested by the owners. Through their application, they haven't really demonstrated a need for why they are requesting 9 variances and variances of this magnitude, other than to accommodate a recent backyard renovation that includes a large in-ground pool, a cabana structure, and a patio area. That renovation was their choice. Again, it was a recent renovation, and apparently at that time they didn't consider the need that they might wish to have a larger home down the road. They have provided, as you just mentioned, some examples of other variances that have been approved by this committee in support of their first application. They haven't provided anything further for this revised application. But in looking at those items that they've listed, many of these items do actually fall outside the Thompson Orchard boundaries, as has been mentioned. They're not subject to the same site-specific bylaws. And just for order of magnitude here, I'll just touch on a couple. Approximately 54% of the 97 examples provided for lot coverage fall outside of Thompson Orchard, and 44 of 85 examples provided in support of FSI fall outside of, again, the Thompson Orchard community area. So these are actually a little bit misleading and inaccurate. And we acknowledge that in certain instances, certain applications have received these particular variances granted. However, it's important to note that in those applications, there's never been 9 such variances granted on one single application. What we are looking at here and what our concern is here is the cumulative impact of 9 variances across the gamut, touching on things like massing and the cumulative impact on that factor as you walk down the streetscape. Having side yard setbacks, front yard setbacks, overall height, and wall height all create a very imposing structure, and certainly one that is not within the prevailing character of the neighborhood. Similarly, there was a discussion earlier about the water runoff, and a combination of things like lot coverage and the lack of hardscape and a wider driveway, lack of softscape and a wider driveway will all contribute to groundwater runoff issues and management. And we have all on Thompson Orchard been subject to extensive flooding in the past, certainly over the past several years. And as was mentioned earlier, this is only going to expected to get worse. Moving on, I would like to address the opposition in the neighborhood. First application for this property received 12 letters of objection from the neighbors. This revised application's drawn 17 letters of objection, and of the neighbors immediately adjacent to 73 Thompson, the neighbor behind has registered to speak in opposition, Tony, and submitted a letter of objection, and the neighbor directly beside at 75 Thompson has also submitted a letter of objection. Considering the number of neighbors that are opposed to this application, the number of variances requested, the magnitude of these variances, the cumulative impact of these variances, the fact that there's never been a variance approved for a front yard and side yard setback on a new build. And we do acknowledge there has been one other instance of a front yard setback, but again, no instances of a side yard setback being approved on a new build in our neighborhood. We request that this application be denied on the grounds that it clearly does not support, is not supported by the neighbors rather, or by the governing bylaws of Thompson Orchard. Furthermore, this resulting structure would most significantly and most certainly not be in keeping with the prevailing character. I did want to touch on a couple of points that the applicant's agent made in his presentation. There were several comments regarding front yard setback and side yard setback that I did just address. It is very important to distinguish the fact that this is in fact a new build and it is not a renovation. Many of the examples that were provided for variances relate to renovations with existing non-compliant setbacks already in place. This is a new build, and the expectation in the neighborhood is that if you are constructing a new build, that you would be able to design a new build that would be compliant with the existing bylaws. And again, for those reasons, we request that this application be denied. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Nope. Mr. Dalton?
Yeah, just wanted to ask, you keep referring to bylaws of this area. What bylaw are you speaking of? Because the bylaw they're varying is 569. That's the city's main bylaw. There's no other bylaw they're varying.
We're aware, as residents of Thompson Orchard and the Toka board, we're aware of the site-specific bylaws for Thompson Orchard. I don't have the specific bylaw references in front of me, but they are site-specific bylaws that refer to deviations from the overall bylaws for the area, dealing exclusively with our neighborhood.
Well, the bylaw they're varying is 569, which is the city's parent bylaw.
If there were other bylaws that required variances, they would appear on the application.
And sorry, just to be clear, the bylaws that are referenced in the notice of minor variance, I believe, are the bylaws that we're referring to, site-specific. What I'm referring to when I talk about the site-specific variance and the misleading nature of the presentation is that other homes outside of Thompson Orchard will have, for example, a different height restriction. The homes in Thompson Orchard are limited to a lower overall height. We consider that to be a site-specific bylaw.
Understood.
Okay.
Is your concern the individual bylaws or?
No, it's okay. It's just the wording. It's area specific, not site, but that's okay. Can we get to the next speaker unless there's other questions?
Yeah, Rob, before we let you go, can you confirm your address again for us?
Certainly, my address is 48 Thompson Avenue.
Correct. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Chair, the last speaker is in chambers here. It's Mike Green.
Welcome. We usually have the chambers people go first, but they wanted to go last. I got it.
This working? Michael Green, 26 Brentwood Road South. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Just on that last point, I know we don't want to go over and over and over, the bylaws that are referenced in the official hearing notice are quite rightly the ones of the city. They were driven by an earlier site-specific bylaw. They were embedded in 569/2013 as exception RD18, and that's what some of the people in the community are referencing. Just don't want to flog a dead horse. I'm not sure how the building length that we heard about, because it doesn't reach the maximum length, offsets 9 variances. And that's, I know I'm not here to ask questions, it's just that question popped into my head. I just don't get the clarity of that. This is, as we've heard, a total new development. It's essentially a greenfield lot. And anything can be built within the confines of that lot. If it can't be done within the bylaws, then people get to ask for some flexibility from the Committee of Adjustment. I think what the concern is the degree of flexibility that is being asked here, given that they are starting with a completely vacant piece of land. And 9 variances, as you've heard, is a significant number. What we've heard on the justification side is, we want to build this home. It sounded like we should be able to build this home because of precedents here, precedents here, precedents here. And obviously, the committee, of course, is not bound by precedent. I've heard that, the committee tell me that in past years, and we understand that. I couldn't help but compare this application to an earlier application in 2013 at 60 Meadowvale. I'm not going to go through all the comments that I wrote in on that, but it was interesting that that application proposed 6 variances versus 9 in this case. The floor space index was asked at 0.68. This one is 0.69. And the height of 60 Meadowvale requested 9 meters. This is 9.06. 60 Meadowvale was declined at the Committee of Adjustment, and an appeal that went into the TLAB was refused. Mr. Justice Leung specifically wrote in his decision at the TLAB that the FSI would permit a detached dwelling which is not minor is inconsistent with the existing homes in this established residential neighborhood and would disrupt the neighborhood rhythm and present a new development pattern which is not totally currently indicative of the area. This was written in 2021, and I would argue that the area has not changed since the time that that judgment was written. In my view, and the view of many of my neighbors, when measured in total, I believe that both the number of variances requested and the collective impact on the streetscape and area of the character of the neighborhood are significantly more egregious in this application than in the one that was declined at 60 Meadowell. Thank you for the opportunity of sharing those opinions.
Thank you. Tonko, are there any questions? No? Okay, thank you. And that was our last.
That was the last speaker of the area residents, correct, Mr. Chair?
I'll ask Mr. Milne-Price to come back then.
While Mr. Milne-Price comes up, I just want to remind folks here, we're still working on the 1 p.m. session, and the 3 p.m. session will start as soon as possible. Thank you.
All right. Okay, I'm ready whenever you are, Chair, to...
The floor is yours.
Thank you. So firstly, just to clarify something, because I saw it referenced several times in the objection letters that have been submitted. The application was not refused. This is the same application that was here in July. We deferred this application because we made changes to the variances, but we did not have a plan that reflected that. And so now we have a plan that does reflect the public notice in front of the committee. And I'll note that during this deferral period, we did make a further change after speaking with TOCA, and that is to provide a permeable driveway. Instead of just re-asphalting the existing driveway. So one comment that has been made several times by the speakers is the difference between a new build and an addition or renovation. And what I want to point out to the committee is that this distinction is not made in the official plan of Toronto. And the reason for that is when you are impacted by a building, you do not care whether it's a new build or whether that some portion of that building has existed prior to any sort of application. And the purpose of and intention of the 415 policies in the official plan is to ensure that the prevailing characteristics of the neighborhood remain throughout any new development applications. And so by providing examples of previous developments that have been approved, my aim is to indicate that there are several existing examples, whether they're new, whether they were renovations, whether 50% of the walls remained through the renovation, or whether more were removed. The impact is still the same. And with that, I would still point to the site plan in terms of how minor the side yard setback impact really is. Well, as I mentioned in my presentation, it is an improvement on the existing condition, but moreover, the difference between what we're proposing and the 0.9 meter setback is really quite small, and I think is very effectively illustrated by that small jut-in on that left-hand corner of the site plan that is at a distance that's permitted as of right. To quickly go through some of the more comments, I want to thank TOCA for understanding and speaking with us. Although we didn't exactly see eye to eye, we did make changes to our proposal as a result of the discussions that we've had. I want to point out that TOCA is accepting of the height variance and understands that there are several applications that are similar that have been approved along Thompson Ave and within the neighborhood of a 9 meter height or just over. And just to quickly point out something about the height that I didn't have a chance, part of that height variance is a result of the established grade being lower than the finished grade. You'll note on the elevation there's a slight dip, and while it is very slight, it's only about a 10 centimeter difference that causes. What I'd point out is the side main wall variance is quite small in terms of height. So when you get to a difference of 6.28 versus 6.18, 8, and in my view, that is absolutely quite minor, and you would need a ruler to be able to tell the difference between an as of right and this proposal. One of the impacts that was spoken to was water retention. What I'll point out is that we aren't making any changes to the rear yard, so particularly the neighbor at the rear yard of the proposal is going to be pleased with that. There's going to be no new impact from that. In fact, the introduction of the permeable driveway, in my view, will make the overall impact quite a bit better. Particularly when you consider that this building will need to go through the building permit process and will need to show that there is no additional stormwater runoff that is being distributed to any adjacent neighbors. So that's something that will have to be shown. With respect to the comment about building length, I'll just clarify my meaning there. So my reason for speaking to the building length provision, although it's not a variance that is in front of you, is to point out that the intent of the bylaw does envision a building that is longer than the building that we're proposing. And because of that, it's my view that that is a portion of evidence that indicates this building envelope that we're proposing is in line with the building envelope envisioned by the authors of the zoning bylaw. I'll point out again that the rear main wall of this building does not extend past the rear main wall of the building to the south, so it will be a nice clean transition for that building. Lastly, I'll just quickly mention something. It was pointed out this development is a greenfield development. That has a specific meaning in the growth plan. That means a development that is within the urban settlement boundary but not within the delineated built-up area, so that does not apply. I believe that that is all my time. So if there's any additional questions, I'm happy to get to that.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay, thanks then. So we'll go into committee then. So we have 9 variances. There's a planning condition of approval which addresses main wall height. Just want to point out that the planning condition did not address permeable pavers. So if anyone is looking to do an approval condition, I might suggest you might want to add that as well. Forestry is looking for condition 3.
I just have a comment to make. Thompson Orchard Community Association, Thompson Orchard itself is, I know it's not a heritage conservation district. At least I'm pretty sure it's not a heritage conservation district. But it's pretty close to being a heritage conservation district. And so, we've had 15 letters of opposition. How many letters of opposition?
17, actually.
Brings me back to the desirability of this particular location, this particular site, this particular proposal. So I am leaning towards refusing it on that basis because it is not desirable for the community. Yeah, that's about it.
But counter to that is there's also a dozen letters of support. So
Is there?
it's a divide.
Where are the support letters? In the additional?
Additional materials.
Oh, okay.
Are they on that street, though?
What's that?
Are they on that street? Are they on Thompson Avenue? Some of them.
Yeah, and then, I'm just skipping through them.
Well, there's a
On Meadowcrest, Van Doren,
why am I
Van
not
Dusen,
seeing?
sorry. It's hard to read the writing. Brentwood, Thompson.
But most of them not on Thompson. I don't know. I just, I feel we have some serious opposition. Current members of TOCA, former members of TOCA, who know their way around this neighborhood pretty well. And I'm leaning towards refusing the application.
Mike, in Mike's presentation, he talked about Meadowvale and the similarities. Where is that located? How close is that to where we're talking about here?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, would you like me to answer even though you're in committee?
If you know where Meadowvale is in relation to this, sure.
I believe it's to the south of the.
But
How far?
I don't know the exact distance.
Can we have Mike respond to that?
Why don't we just do it on Google? Can you just Google it? What was the address? 30 Meadowvale?
Or 60?
60.
How many streets are in Etobicoke or in Thompson? How many actual streets?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if we're gonna go back to question and answer.
I know we're
they'll
not
have to
in-
come up to the podium.
Yeah.
We're just looking it up on Google.
Yeah, let's. Okay, so what's the distance? Okay, so it's close. That's a win. Okay. Okay, so let's go into committee. I'm going to ask Mr. Millenprice to have a seat, and we'll take it from there.
So I think your point, Bill, was that there's kind of a equal smattering of pro and con. Okay. Unlike this morning where we had all con.
And where is this letter of the, is it a support petition? Oh, in the previous materials, okay. Right, and so, and that was before the reductions that have taken place on this application. Okay, fair. Okay, I mean, granted, it is a large number of variances. I mean, a lot of these variances are not major. They're not, but it is the cumulative effect of the number of variances. So, I mean, there's that to be considered.
Yeah, variance may not be maybe minor on its own, but we combine with other variances.
Yeah, exactly.
There was one quote I took from one of the letters, and it was this one. While the city has increased zoning flexibility in the last few years, they have done so in order to increase housing stock. This application does not increase housing stock. It just seeks to ignore the zoning bylaws in the neighborhood for the sole benefit of the applicant.
Well, that could be said about any committee application. That's not for multiple.
Well, I mean,
it's not for multiple units.
It's something for us to think about. That's all.
Okay, it's a tough one. Anyone ready for a motion?
I'll make it. Let's see how it flies. I don't think it will, but I'll give it a whirl. So I'm going to move a motion to approve because I do believe it does meet the 4 tests. I know there's been a lot of back and forth about the 9 variances, but the variances, as has been noted, are not major, and they deal with 4 items. 2 for GFA, 2 for setback, 2 for height, and 3 for driveway. And it's the driveway one that gives the aura that this is like 9 variances, but 3 of the 9. And so I'd like to move a motion for approval, subject to the parks and forestry planning conditions.
Do you want to add permeable pavers to the planning condition?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. And then we'll add a condition for permeable pavers as well.
I mean, the applicant has stated a number of times that they're going to do that, so might as well just hold them to it then.
Hold them.
Okay. Is there a seconder for Bill's motion?
Yeah, I will second that one.
Okay, all in favor?
It's okay. They don't like us, Bill. Do we need another motion?
No, we don't. No, we haven't finished voting yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I haven't asked for the opposed, and I haven't decided how I'm going to vote is my problem, but It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Oh boy, my foot is caught in a wire.
As long as it's fully insulated, we're okay.
Okay. Okay, those opposed? Okay, so the application is refused.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that motion fails, and then we'll need a new motion.
I'll make the motion to refuse the application on the basis that I don't think it is desirable, basically.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Sorry, I was jumping the gun there. Opposed? Okay, the application is refused. Sorry.
Another quick reminder for folks that are on the WebEx call. Just a reminder, we are on the last item now of the 1 p.m. session. And as soon as we complete the 1 p.m. session, we'll look to start the 3 p.m. session. So please bear with us. Thank you.
Okay, our next item, item 31, A, B, C, and D. This is an application. Oh, there's a Part E as well. I forgot. Yeah, okay.
Party.
Part E. There's 5 parts to this application. So this is 55 and 55A Buttonwood Road and 50 Emmett Avenue. This is an application to obtain consent to sever the property into 4 lots. Forestry is requesting conditions 1 and 3. We have an objection letter from one of the current tenants. We have ECS conditions of severance. And with regards to the other applications, so for Part B, it is an application to maintain the existing dwelling with 4 variances. For Part C, it's an application to maintain the existing dwelling with 3 variances. For Part D, it's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage with 2 variances. And for Part E, it's an application to maintain the existing dwelling with 1 variance. And forestry conditions 1 through 3 run through all applications. 31, Victoria or Terrence? Who?
Victoria will be the speaker in this case.
Okay. Victoria?
Can everybody hear me?
We can indeed.
Perfect. So good afternoon, committee members. My name is Victoria Colantonio. I'm a planner at Urban in Mind, and I'm acting as the agent representing the applicant for 55 Buttonwood Avenue. So the subject property currently contains 3 existing dwellings and an existing detached garage. The dwelling units are municipally known as 55 and 55A Buttonwood Avenue and 50 Emmett Avenue, and all currently exist on 1 lot. The portion of the subject property that fronts onto Buttonwood Avenue consists of 1 semi-detached dwelling, so 1 building, 2 units at 55 and 55A Buttonwood Avenue, and the portion of the subject property that fronts onto Emmett Avenue consists of a single detached dwelling at 50 Emmett Avenue and a detached garage structure. This garage is planned to be demolished due to its current condition of disrepair and replaced with a future single detached dwelling. As per the official plan, the subject property falls under the neighborhood's land use designation in the City of Toronto official plan. A range of housing types are permitted and encouraged so long as they are compatible with the prevailing physical character of the surrounding neighborhood. The proposed severance will result in the creation of 4 lots that will reflect the existing use of the buildings, but on their own individual lots instead of on the current large compound situation that's existing, which in turn is more compatible and comparable with the existing neighborhood fabric and streetscapes of both Buttonwood and Emmett Avenue. In terms of the zoning, the subject property is zoned residential multiple RM. Housing in the form of single and semi-detached dwellings are permitted in this zone. The proposed severance will result in the creation of 4 lots to correct a historical lot anomaly. There will be no significant changes to the functioning or appearance of parts 1, 2, and 4, as the only intent is to place the houses on their own lots. The severance will simply recognize the existing structures as operating on individual lots rather than one large residential compound lot. The proposed severance for the subject property will facilitate an appropriate creation and recognition of new lots that already consist of housing types that exhibit lot configurations and built forms similar to the prevailing character of the surrounding area in terms of height, massing, and setbacks. In terms of Part 3, residential infill is proposed as a single detached dwelling. The residential dwelling will only require 2 minor variances to be facilitated and will allow for a currently underutilized lot to be developed in a way that is appropriate for the surrounding neighborhood, respectful to the prevailing character, and will also provide a new and much needed housing opportunity. In terms of the minor variances for lots 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 4, the requested variances are technical as there is no real development proposed, and the site conditions such as setbacks, parking, and floor space index already exist. So the purpose is to recognize what is currently occurring on site and yet not technically in effect.
But are you not removing existing parking?
There is no existing parking.
Is there not a garage that backs onto parts 1 and 2?
There is a garage, but it's not used for parking.
But theoretically, that's parking for those properties.
The access to the garage has been taken away as per a road redesign. So currently there's a curb in front of the garage. There's no access to actually park a car or access the garage with a car.
Okay. Sorry, continue.
So this minor variance, no problem. This minor variance application aims to seek relief from these provisions to bring the existing dwellings into compliance with the zoning regulations and allow for the proposed severance to proceed under today's standards. These proposed lot areas for lots 1, 2, and 4, and 3 as well, though slightly deficient, recognize an existing situation of a residential compound that would not be allowed to occur in today's planning environment. The proposed FSIs for lots 1 and 2 are slightly above the maximum required, which again recognizes an existing condition as the dwellings will not be altered and no new development will occur on these 2 lots. The proposed reductions to the rear yard setbacks for lots 1, 2, and 3 are a result of the proposed severance as they allow for the creation of a new lot, which is lot 3, that is intended to be used for the establishment of a future single detached dwelling. By slightly reducing the rear yard setbacks for lots 1 and 2, appropriate setbacks can also be realized for lot 3 and allow for the proposed lot to be set up to accommodate this future development. There will still be an appropriate amount of amenity space in the rear yard, as well as new fencing to promote privacy from any future residential development on the proposed lot 3. Lastly, lots 1 and 2 do not have a dedicated driveway or garage space for parking purposes. This has always been the case for the subject property. Thus, the requested deviation from the zoning bylaw is a technicality as it is an existing situation of the subject property. The dwellings on these lots have been historically functioning without the provision of a parking space, and this function will continue moving forward. I do understand that there's one letter of objection with regards to the variances, and I'll happily answer any questions from this point forward.
Okay, thank you. I do have one question. I just wonder if you have any historical context on how this site came to be.
The only thing I know is that at one point they were merged on title. The properties were merged on title. So other than that, I don't actually know how this came to be.
Okay.
But it's one owner of the entire property, and now they want to create a legal severance so they have separate properties.
Okay, and my other question, and it just, perhaps this is a little out of line, but I just can't help but ask this one is, why not sever into 3 parts and create 2 garden suites at the rear of parts 1 and 2? You'd actually.
So that's not.
You'd actually produce.
That would be up to the property owner,
I know.
This is what they desire for the subject property.
But you'd actually provide more housing units that way.
Perhaps.
My next question then, on the newly created Part 4, you are creating a parking space, or you're proposing to create a parking space, are you not?
That would be under Part 3 where the garage is existing. Is that the
Correct.
one you're
Yeah,
referring to?
correct. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So for part 3, we are just showing that parking is possible, although I know that there is no minimum parking requirement for new development.
No,
So we are just showing that.
I understand that, but I'm trying to understand how that squares with your statement that there's no parking currently available because it's been blocked off due to a street realignment. So would that not be an issue for the new dwelling as well?
If it was desired by the client, then we would accommodate a driveway access to the house, but they could also keep it as 55 and 55A Buttonwood. They don't have driveways and parking, dedicated parking.
I understand that. I'm not trying to suggest what your client should do. I'm trying to understand your rationale for making a statement that there's currently no parking available and that garage is not usable, yet you're proposing to put parking there. So then it actually is usable.
From my understanding, at one point there was the tenants were parking on that back pad there, and then when the road was reconstructed or the sidewalks were reconstructed, the city actually informed them that they were legally not able to park there.
But is there not a curb cut there?
There is no curb cut there. It was removed. If there was at one time, now the only curb cut is to access 50 EMMETT's driveway.
Okay, so then
not to the garage next door.
So then my question is, if you were going to, well, I mean, I'm looking at Street View, okay, and there is no curb cut. So if you're looking to reinstate a parking space there, then you'll have to deal with the city for permission to do that, will you not?
Right. We understand that we would have to get an entrance permit or something for the driveway to be established there.
So what was the rationale for the city closing that?
I don't know. I haven't been privy to that information. I haven't been on the project long enough because I know that the reconstruction was a while back. So I don't know what the rationale was.
Yeah,
I just know that the access was taken away.
Yeah, I just find that confusing. Like, why was it taken away? But anyway, okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. We have another speaker.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. An area resident is on the call.
Hi, I'm Janine Frost. I currently live at 55A Buttonwood. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Welcome.
Okay. I can answer a couple of your questions that you had asked. Why this was 3 houses built. This used to be one house, this whole lot. My husband lived across the street growing up. It was one house on this whole lot that sat back closer to EMMETT Avenue. So that's why when they purchased this property, they tore down the old house, which was very old, and built these 3 on that one lot at that time. And it was well over 40 years ago that this was done. As to the parking at the back, when the sidewalk on EMMETT ended at number 50 EMMETT, the other house, and there was nothing back there. There was just a curb. There was no sidewalk that went past there. So there was just an asphalt ramp into our driveway. There was always a driveway for us, and there was always a driveway for number 55. And then one of the tenants years ago built that garage himself. Not the owner, a tenant just built it, and it's been there ever since. And the owners have never maintained it because they did not build it. When the city came along and realigned,
No, that's okay.
When the city came along and put in sidewalks on both sides of EMMETT and put in some parking back there off the side of the road, they took away that. They said that it was because of the illegal garage that was there, that wasn't on the books, so there shouldn't be a ramp for those. We couldn't get into that garage even if there was. There used to be a giant tree in front of the garage, and now there's just a stump. So you couldn't get into it even if you wanted to. So we'd asked the owners to petition the city to get our parking put back in, and he didn't. He did nothing about it. I went to Francis Nunziata's office, and took it up with them to try and get our parking back. And I was at that for quite a while. And then I got sick and I left it for a year and a half while I was in treatment. And then COVID hit. And then during COVID is when he started this whole process of it. So we did have parking. There was parking back there for 30 years. We've been here for 18, and there's always been parking until the city realigned. So we did have parking. So we rented the house with parking, and now he wants to build on what was our parking space. That's our main concern. And the fact that we're going to have somebody looking in our bedroom windows 20 feet away. So those are our concerns here, and that's what isn't being represented properly. We did have parking there. And do houses get built without parking, especially 40 years ago? I mean, there would have been parking. Can't get a hold of the original plans, but I'm assuming that parking was provided back there because we don't have anything at the front. So I would assume that would have been what was slated as the parking for these houses.
Yeah, I think this is a situation of multiple illegal builds because back then parking would have been a requirement for each house, but it isn't right now. So that's what
it isn't right now. But why is something being taken away that he should have went after the city for to get our curbs put back in? I park on the street now, and I come home from work and I sit on the street for half an hour waiting for a spot to open up. And get tickets. And receive tickets.
For sure.
So.
For sure. Yeah, that's, I'm trying to clarify the history to try to understand this because I believe under the current situation, you're not allowed to take away the parking. But I think the argument that's being made by the applicant is that this parking was never legal in the first place. So, but how do we define that? I don't know. It's a bit of a.
Would it not be on the original plans for the build for the house that there would have been parking for number 55 and 55A with access from Emmett Avenue?
Perhaps there are, but we don't have access to that right now. Okay, thank you. Well, understand your position. If we can come back to the agent. Well, yeah, it would make a great 2 laneways, not a laneway, garden suites. Okay, yeah, sorry. Victoria?
Yep, I'm not aware of all of the history of the property and when the buildings were constructed and all of that. I do know as this is a tenant, if they had a lease agreement that entitled them to 1 parking space per unit, I'm not sure what the situation is. I don't know if that was ever established that they had a legal parking space on the property. So I can't speak to the parking conditions, but as of today, this is the existing situation. This is the legal situation, is they don't have parking as per the city's understanding. They don't have legal parking on that parking pad next to 50 Emmett, and they don't have legal parking on the parking pad in front of the driveway.
Okay. Any questions? No? Okay, we'll take it into committee. Any discussion? Yeah, that's a different story. Just to keep in mind also, once 4 parcels are created, then theoretically you could have up to 4 dwellings on each of those 4 parcels. Yep. Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion then. I believe the application meets the 4 tests. So I move a motion for approval subject to the Parks and Forestry and ECS comments.
Okay, and so this is a motion for the severance, or are you going to do a motion including all the variants?
That's for will be combined. That would be for the consent. Item 31A and 31B, 31C, 31D, 31E would then be subject to Parks and Forestry, condition 1 and 3.
Okay, approving the variances.
Yep.
Okay. That's the motion that's on the table. Do we have a seconder?
I'm prepared to second that, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Ms. Popovic. All in favor? Okay, the application is approved. And yes, and that concludes our afternoon session.
Mr. Chair, with that in mind, do we want a small break or do we want to plug into 3 p.m. session? Small break. Yeah, I like that idea too. Maybe 5:15 then? It's 5:06 now. What are we, or do you want something a bit longer till 5:30?
That's fine, that's fine, yeah.
Okay. So everybody, we're going to start the 3 p.m. session very shortly. We're going to take this opportunity, though, for the members to take a quick little recess, and so we'll officially start the 3 p.m. session at 5:15. I will take this opportunity, though, to do a quick microphone check with users that are on, but I'll do that in a moment here because I need to take a quick break, too. Thank you.
I've got 32 and 33. Okay, so we have 4. And 35. 35, yeah. Just trying to email from 35, like an hour ago after the referral there. You've got referral 33 for sure. Yes, and possibly 32. You can actually disregard them in order anyway, because there's 3 of the first 4 that are
Now, quick microphone check for user Wes Kovalu. Wes, go ahead.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, are you planning to defer?
No.
No deferral. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, just agent said no deferral for 32. No. Correct.
At least I don't have to go to confession after.
Before the funeral?
Yeah, exactly. No sacrament for you.
Everyone's here in the meeting except
Even with the hour for lunch.
That's correct.
Starting
Yeah.
at 9:30.
That's correct. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Clearly gonna go to 5:30.
Like, do you guys?
The other meetings will make one. Will all be other.
Yeah, we don't want to do it for here.
No, I know, but like, at the end of the year, when you have that list of referrals, you guys put in like on the referral list?
We just sent out an email saying these are the ones that got deferred,
Okay, so I don't
and these are the ones that are tied to plan.
Yeah, what happens is.
Because we have a deferred list, and then.
That you guys might keep an eye on in general?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they just go, they mark it green, and then we schedule it. Yeah, okay.
We'll have to look all, probably we'll get once and we'll get, they'll have a list of five plans to do.
Okay.
And then also, they'll also have a bird.
Okay.
And like this one happens if it's formal list, what happens, they'll go, they'll digitize the packages, I mean, they're already digitized, they take them to driving the bar. It's a lot on the UI for us, so we sit, so when we do get them scheduled and drag back, we'll hold content over. You guys can. All right, Mr. Chair, when you're ready to start the 3 p.m. session, I think we can start.
Thank you. Okay, no one in the chambers for that.
No one in the chambers. Everyone is virtual, though. We have everyone's accounted for.
Everyone's
except
there?
for
Perfect. Okay.
The agent for item number 36, but we're going to reach out to them now.
All right, excellent. So welcome to everyone in the virtual world. I'm Stan Komorek. I'll be your chair this evening. I'd like to also introduce my fellow panel members on my extreme right, extreme left. I'm not talking politically now, right? I know, that's why she could take issue with that. But my extreme left, Natalia Popovic. On my left, Laura Alderson. On my right, currently missing Rick Ross, but he'll be here in a sec. And then Bill Dalton on my further right. I don't know. It's a virtual world, my friend. Anyway, in accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act, 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that apply to property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever property to create new lots. Our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many First Diverse Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 of the Mississaugas of the Credit. Our hearing procedure, the Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid, in-person, and virtual format. Some applicants and some participants will make their submission in person, while others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option to participate via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or other panelist controls during their video appearance. Copies of the decision. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, as Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body will be sending notifications and appeal updates by mail. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Board or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government has amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Hearing procedures, I will call each item in the order listed in the agenda. When you're making your submissions, where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and or take the matter into the committee for decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching your 5-minute mark. Any presentations or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing today. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make the presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to the proposal at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposition of the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we first call on speakers in the hearing room, then those participating virtually. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentations. When all speakers are finished, the applicant agent has the opportunity to rebut, but only those issues that were raised by the previous speakers. This will then mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. That concludes my opening remarks. Yeah, I try. Okay, so we have a number of deferral requests, but since they are virtually in the order of the agenda, I suggest we just go through the agenda items chronologically. So our first item this evening is number 32, 47 Almeida Crescent. And this is an application to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling and a two-story rear addition. 4 variances are being requested. Staff are requesting that this application be deferred. I believe that's planning staff. So if we can speak to the agent with regards to the deferral request. So that's Wes.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Good afternoon.
Yes, Mr. Chair and committee members. Good afternoon, Wes Kolu from Nudima Design and Project Management. Yeah, I understand there was a deferral request. No, because there's a bit of talks between myself, the owner, and the planner. Speaking with the owners this morning, they wish to proceed with the application as it has been submitted.
Okay, what are the issues that planning has?
Planning was just more, their primary concern was the FSI number as it was proposed. As we sit here today, this is an existing like raised bungalow single family dwelling, and the owners are looking to put the second floor on top of the dwelling in order to facilitate some additional bedrooms for themselves and their children. Given that and what the nature of the square footage of the existing lot is, coupled with the bylaw 569 that we're only allowed the 0.5 times the lot area, which currently we sit at 232 square meters.
Okay, I don't.
We're thinking to have the 0.64.
Okay, don't want
to asking.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you for a sec. So what I'm trying to decide first is whether or not we should take staff's advice to defer, because their recommendation is to defer or to refuse. So I really would like some background on what progress, if any, you've made and what their concerns were, as opposed to getting into the merits of the application right now.
Okay, yep, no, I understand. So originally when we submitted this application for our zoning approval, our FSI was a lot larger than what we actually ended up submitting on this application. And then planning was asking us just to kind of go back and forth and see if there's any way we can further reduce the FSI numbers. We looked at that with owners as well, and then given what the nature of the design.
Okay, so was your application at 64? Or was it something greater before?
Our current application is at 64. During our zoning, it was greater than 64. So we have.
And they don't have an issue with your lot coverage?
They also brought up the lot coverage, but then they were more concerned between the FSI and our height.
Okay, so I just want to take that back to committee members, because essentially it's an issue of comfort for us, whether we feel comfortable in proceeding today based on your statements, or whether we should defer to find out what the actual concerns are. I'm assuming there's no one in opposition to this?
No speakers for this file, Mr.
No
Chair.
speakers, okay.
The question is, are planning still in objection to the way it is today?
Okay, your mic's off, and yes, they are requesting that we defer it because they want additional information, but they haven't told us what additional information they want.
So with that, we're driving blind. So, because their deferral recommendations are number 1 and 2. So their number 1 is in order for the applicant to submit all required materials, plans, information as it relates to missing and complete.
Right.
Condition number 2, in order to provide adequate time for staff to appropriately review. So clearly there's discussions and revisions that they want to have with the applicant.
So it sounds like there's missing information.
And even if it wasn't missing, they would not have had a time to look at it, even if we had it now.
Correct. So I leave that to the committee to make a decision on the deferral.
Based on that, I would move a motion to defer.
Okay, is there a seconder?
I would second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. All in favor? Okay, regrettably, your item is deferred, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee
Thank you.
members.
Okay, item 33, 69 10th Street. This is an application to construct a two-story rear addition, including a deck and a rear yard, a deck in the rear yard. There are 3 variances being requested, and we have a notice issue, I believe, on this. So we may need to defer this as well. So again, if we can speak with the applicant. Patrick McAuliffe?
Speaking.
Good
Yes,
day,
it's
sir.
Patrick McAuliffe here.
Okay,
Yes, this is quite simple. When the original zoning review was done, the person that did the zoning review made an error on item number 2, and they referred to the side yard setback as being 0.74, when in reality it's 0.64. So I can't go ahead with this 0.74 because
Right.
the original house is 0.64. So that's why I've asked for a deferral, to get this straightened out. I've since
Absolutely.
sent in a waiver to the city.
Understood. Okay, sir. And there are no other speakers on this item as well?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. No speakers.
Okay, so back to committee.
Mr. Chair, on the basis of the applicant's request and the reasoning for it, I move to defer this matter.
Thank you, Ms. Popovic, seconder. Thank you, Mr. Ross, all in favor. The item is deferred. Okay, I'm going to skip to item 35 because I understand there's been a deferral requested for that item as well. So this is 14 Princess Margaret Boulevard, an application to construct a new driveway. And Jerzy Rabinski? Jerry, are you there?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello? Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jerzy Rabiansky. I am the agent representing the owners of 14, address, Princess Margaret Boulevard. We are requesting to defer this application due to city staff comments and forestry.
So you're looking for more time to process with planning and transportation, is that correct? Or forestry?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Back to committee.
I'm happy to make a motion for deferral. I mean, I see the community plan as a seeking refusal as well as transportation. So it's a no-brainer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Alderson.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Bill. All in favor? Okay, the item is deferred. So that'll bring us back to item 34, 10 Elstree Road. This is an application to construct a one-story front and rear addition. There is one variance being requested. And I think it's about as minor as it can get. Okay, Andrew?
Yes, hi. I'm the applicant.
Good day. I don't think we need a
Hi.
presentation. Forester is requesting condition 2. And like I said earlier, it's about as minor as it can get. So unless there's any questions?
Yes, yeah.
No, okay.
Motion?
Yes, please.
As this application is completely straightforward, I believe it meets the 4 tests, subject to the forestry condition number 2.
Okay.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you. Oh, forestry condition 2, yeah. I think think Bill said that.
His voice just got a little weaker this time.
It's starting to lose steam.
Mr. Chair, the next item on our list is item number 36, and I still don't have the owners on
Present.
on the call
Okay.
at this time. Now, we have reached out to them to try and get a hold of them. So, and there is 2 area residents who are present on the call.
Okay, let's hold it down to the end then.
To the very end. I agree.
Okay.
Thank you. So item number 37.
Item 37, 1320 Western Road. This is an application to legalize and maintain a rear yard deck. Again, there is 1 variance being requested. Metrolinx had its advisory comments. There is an order to comply, as I believe it was built without a permit. The variance is basically a difference of 1 square meter. Yeah, less than 1 square meter, okay. So I'm looking for my speakers list, hold on. Davis Chang?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, good day. Again,
Hi.
you're in that category of as minor as it gets, so I don't think we need a presentation.
Correct.
Does anyone have any questions? No? Ready for something?
I'm ready to bring a motion.
Okay.
Chair, on the basis of the minor nature of this request to legalize and maintain, I bring a motion to approve with the
No conditions.
There's no condition.
no conditions. Just
Okay.
an advisory on Metro.
They've been advised. Seconder? Thanks, Bill. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. We're making up some time in the evening.
So if you build close to what you had, you're okay. That's a mess.
Well. Number 38, 30 Thorbolton Drive. This is an application to convert the existing basement locker room to a new residential unit. There is 1 variance being requested. Planning is requesting 2 conditions of approval, and I have some questions. And our agent, Amiri?
Hello.
Hey, good afternoon, good evening, sorry. So-
Good evening, Mr. Chair. This is Ismatullah Amiri, and I'm the authorized agent for this application. This application is for conversion of an empty unused locker room in the basement level of a 2-story apartment building to a dwelling unit or apartment unit.
Okay. I don't think we need
The
the full,
apartment has 16 units. Sorry?
I don't think we need a full presentation. We understand where you're coming from. I do have some questions, and perhaps if you're okay, if you could just let us
Sure.
ask you some questions. So my first question is, was notice posted to tenants in the building?
There are tenants in the building, yes.
Did you post a notice in the building of this hearing?
I didn't catch your.
Did you
Can you
post notice of this hearing on the premises?
Yes, the notice was posted in the premise of the property.
Okay, can you tell us where? Like, did you just put the sign on the front lawn, or did you put any notices on the entrance doors?
It was posted by the
By
owner,
who?
and also the photos were sent back to the city.
Okay. That's the minimum required notice. I understand that, but I just, in rental units, I just would like to know whether you've made an attempt to inform the current tenants by posting either on the front entrance door or in the laundry room or something like that.
I'm not aware of that, but before we come to one unit. Actually, we were trying to convert the whole building to 23 units, and we went to the planning department and housing department for that, and all the
that's fine.
tenants were notified that time.
That time,
But
okay, so not
for this one,
necessarily
I'm
now,
not.
okay. Okay, that's fine, thank you. Ms. Alderson?
Yes, question. How many locker rooms are there in the building? Is this the only locker
There is
room?
one laundry room.
Locker room.
That's only locker room, yeah.
It's the only locker room.
Yes, that's only locker room.
So I live in an apartment building, and my locker is always full, and everybody else's locker is always full, and everybody needs storage. So where are these people going to store their things? If they don't have a locker room, are they going to store them on their balconies? Where are they going to store their items?
As per the lease that the owner has done, the locker room is not rented to any of the apartments. It's completely unused.
Is it unused because the residents don't have access to the locker room? Did they ever have
when
access to the locker
they
room?
rented the locker room is in the basement, and it's locked, and the access is denied by the owner when he rented each unit of the building. He didn't include the locker room in the agreement.
So it's not being used since he purchased the building. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So are all the lockers empty?
That's correct.
Because they don't have access to the
That's
locker room.
correct.
No one has access.
Well, there's access, and sometimes you're on keel.
There's a reason why it's unused. It's because the occupants don't have access to the locker room.
That's why the storage business is such a growing business. in
Exactly.
Toronto.
Not in
Actually, the owner recently purchased the building, and the tenants were actually there from the previous owner, and it came to him like that. Those tenants were old in the building. They also didn't have access, so it was empty.
So he bought it that way. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Did you want to do some discussion?
There was a planning condition.
There are two planning conditions, and they have to do with amenity space and a line of credit to secure that. Kind of what we were alluding to in that MIMICO situation.
So with that, I'd like to move a motion for approval, as I believe the application meets the 4 tests subject to the 2 conditions in the planning memo.
Okay, is there a seconder? Rick?
Yep, second.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay, passes on a split decision.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I can confirm we've had the agent now for
number 36?
For 36, yes.
Okay, so item 36 is 256 Mill Road. This is an application to construct a 1-story front addition. There are 3 variances being requested. Planning is requesting a condition of approval. Forestry is requesting 2 conditions of approval. There are 3 letters of support. And I'm looking at my...
You'll want to go to the second page or flip it over, and the agent actually is listed as Michael Lafreniere, and they are present here.
Hello.
There's Michael there.
Yeah, hi. This is a bit of a strange application.
Michael,
because
before you go any
the,
farther, do you think you
variances
can,
here-
Michael, sorry, full name and address, please?
Michael Lafreniere, the architect on the file, 951 Ossington.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So what I was just saying is it's a bit of a strange one because the deck, that's an at-grade wooden deck at the rear that is kind of driving these variances. So if you read the planning report, which I did read, they say GFA of the house itself is 32%, whereas 33% is permitted. So I know that at least 1 and 3, the variances just refer back to the deck. You see that deck in the back there that touches the property line. I guess that's supposed to be set back 1.5 meters. So we're only adding 18 square meters to the overall coverage, actually 17.7. So I hope obviously for approval, it's all very minor. I'd prefer not to have the condition. If there's a way we could just have the condition that the deck remains rather than the building be built substantially in accordance with the plans. You know, it's an old house and the exact angle of the roof had to be estimated and the construction of the roof. So the roof line may end up having to change in some minor way. So I just prefer not to be tied to the drawings if we don't have to, but if we're really concerned about the additional intensification of this site, I'd rather just be tied to, you know, keeping the existing deck as is, or preferably be tied to nothing. Happy to answer questions if anyone's got any questions.
Just wanted to note the planning condition is subject to, they're tying it specifically for lot coverage.
Yes, but the coverage, if you read the planning condition, it says that the coverage is being driven by the deck, that the coverage of the house is actually 32%. And that the deck is being included because it's as a variance, because this at-grade deck is not an elevated deck, it's an at-grade deck and it's close to the fence.
Correct.
Yeah, but I don't think that that condition is going to tie you to your elevations
No.
or to your other drawings. That's why they're specifically saying as it relates to the lot coverage.
That gives you wiggle room.
So we're all, the only thing we're tied to is lot coverage then?
Essentially, yeah.
Because aren't we tied to lot coverage through the variances? How does the condition tie us to lot coverage differently than the variances?
The condition is asking that the plans be reflective of the lot coverage and it not change.
So we're just saying that the ground floor plan is kind of, we're tied to the ground floor plan?
No. The interior plan, you can do whatever you want. That will not limit you. This is only limiting
I'm just curious.
It's only going to limit your building envelope and the deck.
So building envelope and deck. I'm fine with that language. Just the way I've been tied to plans on lots of projects, and then we start talking about roof lines. They don't normally pull you to windows. I don't want to be tied to the whole building massing. I prefer just to be say, you know, we're going to keep the deck, and that should be.
No, but that's not what the condition. That's
However
not
you
how the
guys want to
condition reads. I know what you're saying. Sometimes they'll tie it to elevations and this, that, and the other thing, but they're not tying it to that. They're specifying lot coverage.
So this is just the.
Which is tying it to your
Okay.
variance number 1, 33 to 39.2%.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have forestry conditions 1 and 2. You're aware of those as well?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right, that's the package.
As a reminder, there is an area resident on the call for this.
Okay.
Would you like to go to them now?
Please.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to find my speakers list.
The area resident is Claire Vieira. Claire, go ahead.
Oh, there.
Hi, I didn't really have anything to add for this. I'm just listening.
No comment. Thank you.
Okay, that's that. So we're back in camera then. Or in committee. Previous gig. No, this is it. Okay, so we're in committee. Any discussion? I think we've clarified, and I believe the agent is more comfortable with the planning condition now, so we're looking for a motion.
So with that, I'd like to move a motion for approval. I believe the application meets the 4 tests subject to the parks and planning conditions.
Forestry.
Or forestry, sorry. Well, parks and forestry.
Okay.
Is their name?
Yeah, that is right.
Okay, fair enough. Is there a seconder?
I will second that.
Well, we got a tie on the second. I'm going to give it to Natalia this time. So all in favor?
Second or
Okay. You have unanimous approval.
And now my favorite motion of the day.
Okay. That brings us to the end of the agenda.
It's 5:46, and I move that the meeting is done.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson.
Thank you, members. Thank you, staff.
Thank you, staff.
Yes, thank you, staff.
That's what I thought. Right, that's what I thought. You're gonna collect these, or?
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, my goodness, you lost it.
There's some obscenities on that
Go get
sheet.
my, case out of the other room.
Oh, good. There you go.